presented by Soundlibra.com. Explore more titles via the link in the description or at Soundlibra.com. Welcome to the Self-Discipline Code and our journey to build lasting willpower.
Today, we're decoding what self-discipline really means and why it's key to achieving our goals.
For too long, self-discipline has been seen as an innate talent, but it's a skill we can all learn and strengthen, just like any other. Our aim is to show you exactly how. We'll explore the science behind willpower and give you actionable strategies.
So, Alex, how do you define self-discipline?
It's choosing to do what you know you should do, rather than what you feel like doing in the moment. It's aligning your actions with your long-term goals, even when it's hard. It's the bridge between your aspirations and your accomplishments.
That's a powerful image, the bridge between aspirations and accomplishments. Many of us feel stuck on the aspiration side, wishing that bridge would just appear.
Exactly. And that leads to the common, but flawed, idea that motivation alone is enough. People wait for that spark, that burst of feeling to drive them. But motivation is unreliable. It's easily affected by mood, environment, even the day itself.
So, motivation is a feeling, while self-discipline is a consistent action.
Precisely. Motivation can get you started buying that gym membership. But when the alarm rings at 6 a.m. or that cookie jar is within reach, motivation might suggest later. Self-discipline, however, is the inner voice that says, you committed, do the work.
It sounds like self-discipline is the consistent engine that keeps you moving when motivation's fuel runs out.
That's a perfect way to put it. Motivation is the spark plug igniting the engine, but self-discipline is the steady hum that powers you forward. Relying only on motivation is like trying to run a car on fireworks. Exciting momentarily, but not sustainable. Self-discipline is the reliable fuel for your journey.
And throughout the series, you'll guide us on how to keep that engine running and build that reliable fuel.
Indeed, we'll explore the science of willpower, which is closely tied to self-discipline. Willpower isn't an endless supply. It functions much like a muscle. It can fatigue with overuse, but it can also become stronger with the right training.
A muscle? That's an intriguing concept. So, if willpower is a muscle, does that mean we need to constantly push ourselves to exhaustion to build it?
Not exactly. Like any muscle, it needs to be challenged, but also needs rest and recovery. Overworking it without downtime leads to fatigue and potential injury. Similarly, constantly straining your willpower without strategic rest can lead to burnout and a feeling of utter depletion. We'll cover willpower depletion and recharge in more detail later. It's a vital aspect.
So, it's about smart conditioning, not just brute force. We need to train it, not just strain it.
That's exactly right. Understanding these core principles is essential. Many sources offer superficial fixes. We'll delve into the scientific research to understand why strategies work and how you can implement them effectively.
Can you give us a preview of some strategies we'll learn about? What are the basic elements of this self-discipline code?
Certainly, we'll begin by examining how to design your environment for success. This means making positive actions easier and negative ones harder. If you want to eat healthier, keeping junk food readily available isn't ideal. We'll explore the impact of cues, those environmental signals that trigger behaviors. Understanding and modifying these cues is key.
So, it's about setting ourselves up for success before we even have to make a conscious decision. It's about removing the decision-making friction.
You've hit on a crucial point. This naturally leads to the concept of pre-commitment. It's a powerful technique where you lock in a decision beforehand, eliminating future choices. It's like setting your course before the storm hits. We'll explore practical ways to implement pre-commitment, as it can be a truly transformative strategy.
Pre-commitment. That sounds like a way to sidestep those moments of weakness entirely. I'm very interested in that. What else can we expect?
We'll also discuss temptation bundling. This is a brilliant method for making less enjoyable tasks more appealing by linking them with something you truly like. Imagine listening to your favorite podcast while doing a workout you find challenging, or enjoying a special treat while tackling tedious administrative work.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Making the difficult tasks more rewarding. It's like finding a small reward at the end of a tough climb.
Precisely. Following that, we'll address the accountability advantage. As social beings, involving others can significantly enhance our commitment to our goals. We'll discuss forming accountability pacts with friends, coaches, or through structured systems. Knowing you're being observed or that you've made a public commitment can be a powerful motivator.
The power of support, whether it's from friends or a structured system. So, we're looking at environmental design, pre-commitment, temptation bundling, and accountability. That's already a strong foundation of tools.
And that's only the beginning. We'll also cover the art of setting goals, breaking them down into manageable micro habits, and understanding the ripple effect of keystone habits, those small changes that can lead to significant positive transformations across your life.
Keystone habits. That term definitely rings a bell. It sounds like a foundational habit that supports the development of many other positive habits.
Exactly. It creates a domino effect, where one strategically placed habit can trigger a cascade of other beneficial changes. We'll help you identify your own keystone habits. Furthermore, we'll delve into the critical area of energy management. Even the best strategies will falter if you're exhausted. Sleep, nutrition, and movement are not just about general health. They're the fundamental pillars supporting your willpower.
This is shaping up to be much more than just a collection of tips. It feels like a complete system for building resilience and achieving goals.
That is our objective, Lisa. We'll also tackle the psychological obstacles, such as perfectionism and procrastination, and explore how to cultivate a growth mindset that embraces challenges and learns from setbacks. Setbacks are inevitable, but our response to them is what truly matters.
So, the focus is on persistence and adaptability, rather than striving for absolute perfection?
Precisely. We will equip you to navigate those inevitable difficulties and integrate all these strategies into your own personalized self-discipline system. By the conclusion of this series, you will understand how to cultivate lasting willpower, not as an abstract force, but as a practical, honed skill. You'll be empowered to sustain your efforts for lifelong achievement and lead a life of purpose and accomplishment.
Alex, this is incredibly thorough and motivating. It sounds like by the end of this podcast, listeners will have a comprehensive toolkit to implement lasting changes. We're decoding self-discipline, understanding its mechanics, and transforming it into a reliable skill.
That's our commitment. So, are you ready to begin building your self-discipline code?
I absolutely am.
Excellent. Then join us next time as we explore the myth of pure motivation and understand why it's not enough. Next episode, the myth of pure motivation. Welcome back. Last time we decoded the self-discipline code. Now let's tackle the myth of pure motivation.
That's right, Alex. We often think that if we're just motivated enough, we can accomplish anything. But relying solely on motivation is unsustainable.
Exactly. Motivation feels great. That surge of excitement when starting something new is driven by neurochemicals that reward us for anticipating positive outcomes.
It's that feel-good factor that carries us through initial steps, creating an effortless momentum.
Precisely. And because it feels so powerful, we believe it's the only ingredient needed. We think, if I'm not feeling motivated today, then I just can't do it. This is where the myth takes hold.
So, if motivation isn't the constant engine, what is it? What makes it so fickle?
Motivation is more of a fleeting visitor than a permanent resident. It's influenced by our internal state, external circumstances, and brain chemistry. Think of it like the weather. Some days are sunny, others are stormy.
Ah, that's a great analogy. So, on cloudy days, when that initial surge fades and the task feels challenging, motivation disappears, and we often give up.
That's the danger. When we tie our commitment to how we feel, we set ourselves up for inconsistency. Our feelings are unreliable. Our biology craves quick wins, while long-term goals require delayed gratification.
Our internal reward system tells us, this isn't fun anymore. Let's do something else.
Exactly. And our external environment plays a huge role. Tempting options or constant distractions can quickly crumble our motivation.
So, it's not a personal failing if we lose motivation. It's a combination of our biology and environment.
Precisely. It's a biological and environmental reality, not a character flaw. This is why so many people start with great intentions and fizzle out when the going gets tough, waiting for that feeling to return.
This is crucial. If motivation is so unreliable, what's the alternative? How do people achieve sustained success?
This is where we introduce self-discipline. If motivation is a fleeting visitor, self-discipline is the sturdy crew that keeps the ship sailing. Self-discipline is about doing what you set out to do, even when you don't feel like it. It's acting in alignment with your goals and values, regardless of your current emotional state.
So, self discipline is the internal commitment to follow through, even when motivation has left. It's about the action, not the feeling.
Exactly. It's the difference between wishing for change and making it happen. Motivation might be the spark, but self-discipline is the sustained burn. And unlike motivation, which you can't reliably summon, self-discipline is a skill that can be learned, practiced, and strengthened.
That's incredibly empowering. The idea that we can actively build this capability, rather than just waiting for inspiration, is a game changer. But how do you build this engine? How do you cultivate self discipline when your default is to follow the path of least resistance?
That's the question, and we'll explore it throughout this series. We'll look at the science behind willpower, how to design your environment, the power of pre-commitment, and strategies for managing your energy. We'll move beyond wanting to be disciplined to actually being disciplined.
So, instead of waiting for inspiration, we're going to create conditions that make action inevitable. We're going to build a system.
Precisely. We'll treat self-discipline not as a mystical trait, but as a muscle that can be trained. Just like you wouldn't expect to run a marathon without training your legs, you can't expect to achieve significant goals without training your willpower.
And in the next episode, we'll delve into that muscle analogy. We'll explore the science of willpower, understanding how it gets depleted, and, more importantly, how it can be recharged. It's a fascinating look at our ability to resist temptation and stay focused.
Indeed, we'll be looking at concepts like ego depletion and the real-world implications of having a finite amount of willpower available to us each day.
So, to recap our discussion today, motivation is a powerful feeling, but it's unreliable. Relying solely on motivation is a recipe for inconsistency. The true engine for lasting achievement is self-discipline, the ability to act in alignment with your goals, even when you don't feel like it. And self-discipline is a skill we can learn and strengthen.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. We've established the problem with chasing motivation and introduced the solution, building self-discipline. Next time, we'll dissect willpower as a muscle, exploring the science of depletion and recharge.
Get ready to understand the mechanics of your own willpower. It's going to be a deep dive. Join us next time.
Next episode, willpower as a muscle, the science of depletion and recharge. Welcome back. Last time we explored why motivation isn't enough. Now let's tackle willpower.
A muscle? So, what does it mean for willpower to be like a muscle?
It means it's finite. Think about going to the gym, your muscles get tired. Research suggests our willpower works similarly, depleting throughout the day.
So, if we use too much willpower on resisting social media, we might have less for a tough work project later.
Exactly. This is often called ego depletion. It's about self-control, regulating our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. When we exert self-control, we draw from this limited willpower reserve.
Can you give us examples of when we might be depleting our willpower?
Think about a day filled with decisions. For what to wear to prioritizing tasks at work. Even small choices chip away at willpower.
And resisting temptation sounds like a big drain.
You've hit on a key point. Resisting temptation is a huge drain. If you're on a diet and surrounded by treats, choosing not to have them uses willpower. The more temptations, the more your willpower diminishes.
So, it's the accumulation of all the little choices and resistances that wears us down.
Precisely. There's also a physiological component. Studies show that when willpower is depleted, our brains may signal a need for glucose, which is why you might crave sugary snacks when mentally exhausted.
It's like our brain saying, we've been working hard on self control and we need fuel.
That's a great way to put it. Experiments have demonstrated this. Participants suppressing emotions were less persistent on puzzles later, their self-control muscle fatigued.
That makes sense. I felt that lack of energy after a long day of making decisions or dealing with difficult people.
This depletion affects overall self-control. Low willpower can lead to impulsive decisions, losing your temper, or difficulty sticking to goals. Focus can also suffer.
This is concerning. If willpower depletes, are we doomed if we have a demanding day?
Not at all. Just like a physical muscle, willpower can be strengthened and recharged. Research on ego depletion highlights how to manage and replenish this vital resource.
Recharged? How does that work? Does it refill when we sleep?
Sleep is crucial, yes, but there are other ways to actively replenish willpower. One effective method is through positive emotional states.
Positive emotions? So, doing something enjoyable helps restore willpower?
That's right. Experiencing positive emotions, even from watching a funny video, can counteract willpower depletion. It's like giving your self-control muscle a break and a boost.
Wow. Happiness and enjoyment aren't just nice to haves, they're functional. They help us have more willpower for responsibilities.
Exactly. It emphasizes self-care as a strategic necessity for self-discipline. Another way to recharge is by taking regular breaks. Stepping away for a few minutes can allow willpower reserves to recover.
So, pushing through without breaks might be counterproductive. It's better to work in focus bursts with restorative breaks.
Precisely. And what you do during breaks matters. Engaging in something genuinely restorative is more effective. This is where personal energy management becomes important, a topic we'll cover later.
To recap, willpower isn't an unlimited force. It's like a muscle that can get tired from overuse. This ego depletion happens when we make many choices, resist temptations, or exert self control.
And that depletion can make us more impulsive and less capable of sticking to those goals. But the good news is we can recharge our willpower. Sleep, positive emotions, and restorative breaks can replenish our reserves.
Understanding willpower as a depletable resource is key to managing it. It shifts focus from trying harder to strategically preserving and replenishing our energy.
Absolutely. It's about working smarter. Recognizing low willpower allows better decisions about what tasks to tackle and when. You wouldn't schedule your most demanding task at the end of a draining day.
This concept is foundational. It explains many struggles with self discipline despite good intentions.
It really does. By understanding willpower depletion and recharge, we're better equipped to build sustainable habits and achieve our long-term goals without burning out.
So, we've learned willpower is finite but can be replenished, like a phone battery that can be recharged.
A perfect analogy. In the next episode, we'll tackle how to actively strengthen your willpower muscle, exploring practical methods to build your capacity.
That sounds incredibly helpful. We'll learn how to expand its capacity.
Exactly. Join us for episode 4, where we'll be focusing on strengthening your willpower muscle, the fundamentals.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the fascinating idea of willpower as a muscle. It can get fatigued, but it can also grow stronger with training. Today, we're diving into how to strengthen that willpower muscle.
It's such a powerful metaphor. Thinking of willpower as something tangible we can actively work on. But how do we actually do that? Where do we start with this training?
The good news is it starts with small, consistent efforts. We're talking about doing a few simple reps consistently to build foundational strength. So, today we're covering the first basic principles for strengthening your willpower muscle. We'll introduce the idea of consistent, small wins and the crucial role of rest and recovery.
Small wins and recovery. It sounds deceptively simple, but we might overlook these basics. We often jump to tackling huge challenges, thinking that's how we build strength, when maybe it's the consistent, smaller actions that truly build the foundation.
Exactly. Think about building strength in your arms. You wouldn't start by trying to lift a car. You'd start with light dumbbells, focusing on performing the movement correctly, rep after rep. Willpower training is very similar. Our first fundamental is achieving consistent, small wins. These are tasks where you exercise a little willpower, but not so much that you deplete your reserves.
So, these small wins are like warm-up reps for our willpower muscle. They get working, but they don't exhaust it.
Precisely. And the key is consistency. It's better to perform a small act of willpower every day than to attempt one massive feat once a month and then collapse. These small wins build the habit of making a conscious choice to exert self-control. Second, they build confidence. Each success reinforces the belief that you can exert control.
Can you give us some examples of these small wins?
Of course, imagine you hit the snooze button multiple times every morning. A small win might be to set your alarm for slightly earlier and commit to getting up on the first ring. That's a small, manageable act of willpower. Or perhaps you scroll through social media excessively during work breaks. A small win could be limiting that scrolling to 5 minutes. Another could be choosing water over soda at lunch or taking a short walk.
Those are great examples. They require a conscious decision and a bit of effort to resist an impulse or temptation. And the consistency aspect means doing that small victory every single day.
Absolutely. And over time, you gradually increase the difficulty. Once getting up on the first ring becomes easy, you might aim to get up at your original time, still on the first ring. You're progressively strengthening that muscle. Remember, self-discipline isn't about willpower alone. It's about building that internal capacity for self-control, independent of fluctuating motivation levels.
That confidence boost you mentioned is so important. Racking up tiny victories makes the next slightly bigger challenge feel less daunting.
Exactly. And this brings us to the second fundamental principle, the importance of rest and recovery. Just like a physical muscle, your willpower muscle needs time to repair and rebuild. If you constantly push it to its limit without rest, you're risking burnout.
Burnout. That definitely resonates. I've felt that willpower depletion where I just feel exhausted by decision making and resisting urges. So, what does rest and recovery look like for willpower?
It means creating periods where you use less willpower or where you allow yourself to enjoy small, harmless pleasures that don't require much self-control. Think of it as scheduled downtime for your willpower. One of the simplest ways is to identify activities that drain your willpower and reduce them during certain times. For instance, if your willpower is weakest at the end of a long workday, plan your demanding tasks for the morning.
So, it's about being strategic and not expecting ourselves to be on and exerting self control 24/7. We need to create windows for our willpower to recharge.
Precisely. And this recovery can happen in many ways. Engaging in activities you enjoy that don't require significant mental effort can be restorative. This could be listening to music, spending time in nature, or engaging in a hobby. Another aspect is ensuring you get adequate sleep. Sleep is absolutely critical for willpower replenishment. When you're sleep deprived, your ability to exert self-control plummets.
That makes so much sense. When I'm tired, the lure of comfort food or just giving into procrastination feels so much stronger. It's like my willpower defenses are down.
That's a perfect way to put it. And another key element is what we can call willpower replenishment routines. These are simple, automatic actions that don't require much willpower, but they provide a boost. For example, having a healthy snack ready when you get hungry instead of having to decide what to eat. Or setting out your workout clothes the night before. These acts of preparation reduce the willpower demand in the moment.
So, it's not just about not doing things that deplete willpower, but also about proactively building in activities that help it recover or prevent excessive depletion. It's like a training schedule, workout days, but also rest days and active recovery days.
Exactly. And the beauty of this approach is that it creates a sustainable system. By focusing on consistent small wins, you build strength gradually. By prioritizing rest and recovery, you prevent the overwhelm that leads to giving up. These two principles, consistent small wins and regular rest and recovery, lay the groundwork for all the more advanced willpower building strategies we'll explore later.
So, to recap for our listeners, the fundamentals of strengthening your willpower muscle involve consistent, small wins that build your capacity and confidence without causing burnout. And equally important is allowing your willpower to rest and recover through restorative activities, adequate sleep, and proactive routines.
You've got it. These are the foundational exercises. We're building that base. And as we move forward, we'll show you how to progressively increase the load, design your environment for success, and employ powerful techniques to make willpower training a natural part of your life.
It's empowering to know that strengthening willpower isn't about brute force, but about smart training and mindful recovery.
Precisely. It's about working with your willpower, not against it. Next episode, designing your environment for success. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. Last time, we explored willpower as a muscle. Now, we're talking about designing your environment for success.
It's so true, Alex. We've been building up our inner strength, but what if we could also make it easier for ourselves by changing the world around us? It feels like a game changer.
Exactly. Think of it this way. If you try to eat healthier, keeping tempting snacks right in front of you makes that a harder battle. But if those snacks are out of sight, your willpower isn't being drained constantly. You're stacking the deck in your favor. This is about making desired behaviors easier and undesired behaviors harder.
So, it's less about brute force willpower and more about smart strategy. We're not just relying on grit, we're cleverly arranging our surroundings. This connects back to willpower depletion, right? If we don't have to fight distractions and temptations, our willpower reserves last longer.
Precisely. Let's break down how. The first key is understanding your triggers. What are the things in your environment that usually lead you astray? These are your cues. Remember, identifying cues is foundational.
My cues are definitely my phone notifications. Every ping, every buzz pulls me away from focused work. And the endless scroll of social media just waiting for me when I pick it up. That's a tempting rabbit hole.
Those are perfect examples. For your phone, designing your environment for success might mean turning off most notifications or setting up do not disturb modes. It could also mean physically putting your phone in another room while you're trying to concentrate. This is about controlling the timing and context.
That makes sense. It's not about banning the phone, but controlling when and how I interact with it. So for me, for instance, if my goal is to write more, my writing space should be clear of clutter, my computer should be set up with just the writing program open, and my phone should be silenced and out of reach.
You've hit on a major point: decluttering and creating a dedicated space. This applies to any goal. If you want to exercise more, maybe your workout clothes are laid out or your yoga mat is visible and ready. If you want to read more, have a book on your bedside table. We call this making the desired behavior obvious.
Obvious. I like that. And for the undesired behaviors, we want to make them invisible or at least difficult, right? Like putting those tempting snacks in an opaque container at the back of the cupboard.
Exactly. This concept is often called environment design or choice architecture. You're designing the choices available to you. For instance, if you want to drink more water, keep a bottle of water on your desk. Every small friction you add to a negative behavior, and every small ease you add to a positive behavior can have a compounding effect.
It's a subtle but powerful shift. We're not just changing our habits, we're changing the landscape in which our habits live.
And it's not just about physical spaces. Think about your digital environment. How many tabs do you have open? How many apps are on your phone's home screen? Each of these is a potential distraction, a temptation. Cleaning up your digital workspace can be just as impactful as cleaning up your physical desk.
That's a great point. I often feel overwhelmed by digital clutter. So, simplifying my digital environment could mean unsubscribing from unnecessary email newsletters, deleting apps I don't use, or organizing my desktop files.
Absolutely. Now, let's think about making the desired behaviors easy. This means removing obstacles. If you often skip your morning workout because figuring out what to wear is too much effort, lay out your gym clothes the night before. If you want to eat a healthier breakfast, prep ingredients the night before, like chopping fruit.
This is starting to feel much more manageable. It's about proactive preparation. Instead of waiting for the willpower moment, we're setting ourselves up for success.
And this technique is incredibly versatile. Let's say you want to practice a musical instrument daily. Instead of having it tucked away, keep it ready to pick up in a prominent spot. The visual reminder and reduced friction make it more likely you'll play.
So, to recap this part, we want to make our good habits obvious and attractive, and our bad habits invisible and inconvenient. We're talking about both our physical and digital surroundings.
That's a great summary. Now let's talk about a slightly different angle: social cues. The people we surround ourselves with can either support our goals or undermine them. If your friends are constantly out late on weeknights and you're trying to get more sleep, it's going to be a struggle.
Oh, this is a tough one. We generally want to fit in with our friends. So, how do we navigate that without alienating people?
It's about making conscious choices about who you spend your time with. It might mean having a conversation with your friends about your goals. Or perhaps it means finding new friends or groups who share similar aspirations. For example, if you're trying to eat healthier, joining a running club can surround you with like-minded individuals.
So, our social environment is just as much a part of our overall environment as our physical desk or our phone settings. It's about choosing to be where you're supported. This feels like a natural extension of making desired behaviors attractive. If being around supportive people feels good, then we'll naturally lean towards that.
Precisely. And let's not forget about the environment of our workspace. If your goal is to be more productive and focused, is your workspace cluttered with unrelated items? Are there constant interruptions from colleagues? Making your workspace conducive to focus is crucial. This might involve using noise-canceling headphones, putting up a do not disturb sign.
It feels like a constant audit of our surroundings. We have to be detectives of our own lives, looking for all these little environmental factors that are either helping or hindering us.
That's a good way to put it. And this is an ongoing process. Your needs and goals will change, so your environment design will need to adapt. The key is to be intentional. Don't let your environment just happen to you. Design it. Shape it to serve your goals.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, designing your environment for success is about actively manipulating the external factors to make achieving your goals easier. This involves making desired behaviors obvious and attractive, and undesired behaviors invisible and inconvenient. It also means paying attention to both our physical and digital spaces, and even our social circles.
You've got it. By making small, strategic changes to our external world, we can significantly reduce the demand on our willpower. This allows us to conserve that precious energy for when we truly need it. Remember, self-discipline isn't just about digging deep. It's also about building a supportive nest around yourself.
It's like building the perfect garden for your goals to flourish. You prepare the soil, you ensure it has the right sunlight, and you protect it from pests. You're not fighting the elements, you're working with them.
That's a beautiful analogy. So, for the listener, the call to action is take a good look around you. When your environment is working for you and what is working against you, start making small, intentional changes today. The cumulative effect can be amazing.
So we've moved from the internal strength of willpower to the strategic advantage of our external environment. Next episode, the power of cues, those unconscious triggers that guide our behavior.
It's going to be fascinating. Join us for episode 6 of the Self-Discipline Code. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. Today we focus on cues, the subtle triggers influencing our behavior.
It's true, Alex. So many actions are responses to our surroundings. Seeing a cookie jar might trigger me to reach for it before I fully process the thought. That cookie jar is a cue.
Exactly, Lisa. Cues are signals, environmental inputs that prompt behavior. Think of them like a question mark in your environment that your brain answers with an action. They can be sights, sounds, smells, or feelings.
So, it's not just seeing the cookie jar. It could be the ping of a notification or the specific time of day when I usually snack.
Precisely. These are cues fundamental to environmental design. They're neutral signals. The behavior they trigger is what matters for self-discipline.
And these cues often bypass rational thought, tapping into our habits, our automatic responses. If a cue is strongly linked to a habit, we perform it almost on autopilot.
That's a perfect way to put it, Lisa. Our brains are wired for efficiency. Habits are shortcuts. When a cue appears, our brain says, "Ah, I know what to do here." This is efficient for desired actions, like your morning coffee, but a roadblock for self-discipline.
This explains how easily I get distracted. If I'm focusing on work and my phone buzzes, that's a cue. My brain associates that buzz with social media, a built habit. So, even wanting to focus, the cue makes me check my phone.
That's a classic example. The phone buzzing isn't the problem. The problem is it's a cue for checking social media. To build self-discipline, we must become detectives of our own cues, identify them, understand what they trigger, and manage them.
So, step one is awareness. How do we become cue detectives?
It starts with observation. Throughout your day, notice your actions. When you do something unintended, pause and ask, what just happened? What was I seeing, hearing, feeling, or thinking right before? Keep notes, even mental ones.
Like a trigger journal for habits?
Exactly. A trigger journal. If you're snacking mindlessly, know what you were doing, where and what prompted it. Was it TV? Stress? Walking past the kitchen? Each could be a cue.
And once we identify a cue, then what? Ignore it?
We have two main strategies. Make positive cues more prominent to encourage desired behaviors, or make negative cues less visible to discourage unwanted ones. It's about manipulating your environment based on identified cues.
Let's break that down. How do we make positive cues more prominent?
Think about habits you want to build. Want to drink more water? Have a water bottle visible and within easy reach. Seeing it is a constant reminder, a positive cue to drink.
So, if I want to exercise in the morning, I could lay out my workout clothes. Seeing those clothes would be the cue to get dressed and go.
Perfect. You're making the desired behavior more obvious. Another example. Keep a book on your bedside or coffee table. The book becomes the cue to pick it up and read. We set up environmental prompts for desired actions.
It's like turning passive objects into active reminders. And for the flip side, making negative cues less visible? This is the cookie jar.
Right. For unwanted behaviors, make the cue as invisible as possible. If the cookie jar calls to you, put it out of sight. Better yet, don't buy cookies. If you don't see it, the cue weakens and the automatic grab is less likely.
So, for my phone distraction, I could turn off non-essential notifications. The absence of the buzz is a cue to stay focused. Or put my phone in another room while working.
That's a fantastic application. Making the cue harder to access or reducing its intensity significantly weakens its power. Remember making the right choice the easy choice? Managing cues is a huge part of that. We're not fighting urges head on. We're redesigning our environment so urges are less triggered or easier to resist.
It also feels like we need to anticipate when these cues might arise. For instance, that 3 p.m. energy slump leading to sugary snacks.
Absolutely. Proactive cue management is key. If you know a certain time or situation often triggers an unwanted behavior, plan ahead. What can you do to alter the cue or have an alternative behavior ready? This ties into pre-commitment, which is coming up soon. For now, let's focus on identifying and managing immediate cues.
So, to summarize, cues are environmental signals triggering automatic behaviors. We become aware of our cues by observing actions and keeping a trigger journal. Then, we make cues for desired behaviors more visible, like leaving workout clothes out, or cues for unwanted behaviors less visible, like hiding the cookie jar.
That's a great summary, Lisa. Many struggle with self-discipline, fighting impulses without understanding why they appear. By managing cues, we stop fighting losing battles. We shape the battlefield.
It feels less like a willpower struggle and more like a smart strategy. It's about working with your brain, not against it.
Exactly. We make self-discipline the path of least resistance. Small environmental adjustments have a significant impact. Don't underestimate a well-placed water bottle or a hidden phone. These aren't minor tweaks. They're fundamental to building lasting habits and achieving goals.
It's like setting yourself up for success before you even have to consciously decide.
To achieve this, we can use a strategy called temptation bundling. This involves combining something you need to do with something you really enjoy.
That sounds like a powerful strategy. I'm excited to learn how to make chores more enjoyable.
You won't want to miss it. So, for this episode, the key takeaway is to become a student of your own habits by understanding and managing the cues that influence you.
Observe, identify, and adjust your environment. Make cues for your desired behaviors work for you, and cues for unwanted behaviors work against you.
Well said. That brings us to the end of this episode of the Self-Discipline Code. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time, we dove deep into the power of cues. Now, let's tackle pre-commitment.
Pre-commitment.
It sounds like committing to something beforehand. It's like setting up guardrails for yourself before you get to a tricky part of the road.
Exactly. We often face situations where our future selves know what the right choice is, but our present selves, when faced with immediate gratification, might struggle. Pre-commitment is about making a decision now, when you have clarity and motivation to guide your behavior later.
So, instead of relying solely on willpower in the moment, we're engineering our future circumstances to make the desired behavior easier and the undesired behavior harder.
Precisely. Let's say you want to eat healthier. A pre-commitment might be deciding on Sunday that you're not buying any junk food to keep in the house during the week. You've made that decision when you're not hungry. Then, on Wednesday evening, when you're tired and craving something sweet, that junk food simply isn't an option.
That makes so much sense. It removes the need to wrestle with yourself in the moment. You've already won that battle by making the decision in advance. It feels less like a willpower test and more like following a preset plan.
And that's the beauty of it. It's not about becoming a willpower superhero. It's about being a smart strategist. We're intentionally setting up constraints for ourselves. Another example, imagine you want to reduce your screen time. A pre-commitment could be deleting distracting apps from your phone on Saturday, or setting up a predetermined shut-off time for your devices each evening.
So, by taking an action now, you're influencing your future options. It's like booking your accommodation well in advance for a road trip. When you arrive, your room is already secured.
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. Pre-commitment works by altering the choice architecture. We're essentially making this self-disciplined choice the default, or the only accessible choice.
Can you give us some more concrete examples of how pre-commitment can be applied?
Absolutely. Let's think about finances. People often struggle with overspending. A pre-commitment strategy could be setting up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account on payday. You've committed to saving that money before you even have a chance to spend it. Another one is a cooling off period for purchases. If you want to buy something non-essential, you commit to waiting 24 or 48 hours before you can actually make the purchase. This gives you time to evaluate if it's something you truly need or just a fleeting impulse.
I've heard of people doing that with online shopping, adding items to their cart, but then not checking out for a day or two. It's a form of pre-commitment then?
Exactly. It's creating a delay, a barrier between the impulse to buy and the act of buying. For health and fitness goals, pre-commitment can manifest in several ways. You might prepay for a gym membership, making it harder to skip workouts because you've invested financially. Or you could schedule your workouts in your calendar, treating them like non-negotiable appointments. You're committing to that time slot in advance.
And scheduling it makes it feel more official, more important. I can see how that would make you more likely to follow through. What about something like learning a new skill or working on a creative project?
Great question. For learning, a pre-commitment could be signing up for a course with a fixed start date and deadlines. This creates external accountability and a structured path. For creative projects, it might involve setting a specific time each day to work on it and telling a friend or family member about your commitment. This introduces a social element of accountability. Sometimes, the pre-commitment is simply about setting a clear intention. For instance, deciding the night before what you will focus on first thing in the morning, so you don't waste precious morning energy deciding.
This idea of prearranging your environment to support your goals is so powerful. So, the core idea is to anticipate future temptations and make decisions now to mitigate them.
That's the essence of it. And it's incredibly effective because it leverages foresight. Our future selves are often wiser and more aligned with our long-term goals than our present selves, especially when faced with immediate pleasures or aversions. We're essentially creating a contract with our future selves.
And what happens if we break that contract? Is that where willpower comes back in?
That's a good point. While pre-commitment reduces the need for constant willpower, it doesn't eliminate it entirely. If a pre-commitment is breached, then yes, you might need to draw on your willpower reserves. However, a well-designed pre-commitment strategy is intended to minimize those situations. It's also about learning from those instances. If you consistently break a certain type of pre-commitment, it might indicate that the commitment itself needs adjustment or that you need a different strategy altogether. For example, if you pre-commit to not snacking and then find yourself ravenous by mid-afternoon, perhaps your pre-commitment needs to include planning healthier snacks.
So, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, but a tool to be refined. What are some common pitfalls to avoid when using pre-commitment?
One major pitfall is making commitments that are too difficult or unrealistic. It's more effective to start with smaller, manageable pre-commitments, and build from there. Another pitfall is not being specific enough. A vague commitment like, I'll try to be good, is far less effective than a concrete one like, I will not bring any sugary drinks into the house this week.
Specificity seems key, and perhaps anticipating when and where these temptations are likely to arise.
Absolutely. The more you can anticipate the specific scenarios where your resolve might falter, the better you can craft a pre-commitment to address it. Think about your typical day. When are you most likely to deviate from your intended path? Is it during your commute? After a stressful workday? When you're bored? Identify those moments.
This makes me think about how many of our automatic behaviors are triggered by specific contexts. By changing the context through pre-commitment, we're essentially disrupting those trigger response loops.
That's a brilliant way to put it, Lisa. We're actively changing the environment and the available options to make the desired path the path of least resistance. It's a form of self-control that happens before the temptation even appears, making it much more sustainable and less draining than relying purely on in-the-moment willpower.
So, to recap, pre-commitment is about making decisions ahead of time when you're in a rational state to guide your future behavior and reduce reliance on willpower when faced with temptation. It involves anticipating potential challenges and setting up constraints, like removing temptations or scheduling positive actions, to make the desired behavior easier and the undesired behavior harder.
Exactly. It's a proactive, strategic approach to self-discipline. By foreseeing challenges and making decisions in advance, we create an environment where success feels more automatic, less like a constant battle.
And we've discussed how it can be applied to areas like finances, health, and personal projects, with examples like automatic savings, waiting periods for purchases, prepaying for services, and scheduling dedicated time for goals.
And the key to effective pre-commitment lies in specificity, realism, and anticipating those critical moments where our resolve might waver. It's about creating a contract with our future selves.
It really sounds like a game changer for anyone looking to build lasting habits and achieve their goals.
It truly is. In our next episode, we'll explore practical tactics for making pre-commitments work for you, and we'll also introduce the concept of temptation bundling.
I'm excited for that. So, join us next time as we delve into practical pre-commitment tactics and discover how to make difficult tasks more appealing.
We'll see you then. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. Last time, we explored the powerful concept of pre-commitment, understanding how locking in our decisions beforehand makes them far more likely to happen. We learned that pre-commitment is essentially setting up future actions or consequences so that when faced with a choice, the desired behavior is the automatic, or at least much easier, path.
Right, Alex? And the key takeaway from episode 7 was that pre-commitment allows us to bypass those moments of wavering willpower. It's like creating guardrails for ourselves, so we don't even have the opportunity to swerve off the road when temptation strikes. But understanding the concept is one thing. Putting it into practice is where the real magic happens.
Exactly, Lisa. So, in this episode, episode 8, we're diving deep into practical tactics for pre-commitment. We're going to share actionable strategies you can start using today to reinforce your decisions and build those lasting habits. Think of this as your toolkit for making pre-commitment work for you in the real world.
I'm ready. I'm excited to get some concrete examples. How do we actually do this?
Let's start with a very common area: healthy eating and exercise. Imagine you've decided you want to eat healthier meals for dinner. A simple pre-commitment tactic is pre-portioning. Instead of buying a giant bag of chips, you pre-portion them into small snack bags. When you feel the urge for a snack, you have a pre-portioned bag ready, not the entire bag that tempts you to overeat.
That makes sense. So, it's not just about deciding you will eat healthy, but actively creating a situation where the healthier choice is more convenient or the only choice available.
Precisely. For that healthy dinner goal, another pre-commitment tactic is pre-preparing meals or ingredients. On a Sunday, you might chop all your vegetables for the week, marinate chicken breasts, or even cook a large batch of quinoa. Then, on a busy Tuesday evening, when you'd normally be tempted to order pizza, you have healthy ingredients ready to go. The effort required is significantly reduced.
So, you're investing effort up front to remove future decision fatigue and temptation.
I like that.
What about exercise? I know that's a big one for many people.
For exercise, a classic pre-commitment is setting out your workout clothes the night before. It sounds small, but it removes a barrier. When you wake up, your gym clothes are right there, a visual cue and a nudge. You've committed to this before your sleepy, less motivated self can talk you out of it.
Oh, I've done that. And it really works. It's like you've already done half the work just by having them laid out.
Exactly. Beyond that, you can make financial pre-commitments. For your fitness goal, you could sign up for a gym membership that you've already paid for, or even better, join a fitness class where you lose money if you don't show up. This financial stake adds an extra layer of commitment.
That's a powerful one. Losing money is a strong motivator for many of us. So, it's about creating consequences for not following through.
Absolutely. Another excellent tactic is reducing temptation and creating friction. If you're trying to limit screen time, for example, have your phone intentionally out of reach when you're working. Or, if you use apps that track your screen time, consider pre-committing to automatic limitations. Set your phone to lock you out of social media apps after a certain time each evening.
Friction. That's a great way to put it. You're not just relying on willpower, you're actively making the undesirable action harder to perform.
And making the desirable action easier. Let's talk about work and productivity. If you have a big project deadline, a pre-commitment could be scheduling dedicated work blocks in your calendar and treating them like unbreakable appointments. You inform colleagues or family that during these times, you are unavailable.
So, you're setting boundaries in advance. That's a form of pre-commitment then?
Absolutely. You're pre-committing to protecting your focused work time. Another way is through technology. Many apps can block distracting websites for set periods. You set them up in advance, and they automatically prevent you from accessing those sites during your designated work hours. You've pre-committed to focus by disabling distractions.
That's a really concrete example of creating friction for the bad and ease for the good. It's like you're building your future self little helpers.
That's a perfect analogy, Lisa. Building your future self, little helpers. Let's consider personal development, like learning a new skill. If you've decided to learn a new language, you can pre-commit by signing up for a conversational class or hiring a tutor. This involves an upfront commitment of time and money, making you more likely to follow through.
And it also gives you an external structure. You're not just relying on your own internal drive.
Exactly. And connecting back to our discussion on willpower as a muscle, remember we talked about depletion? Pre-commitment helps us use our limited willpower most effectively. Instead of facing a constant stream of small decisions and temptations throughout the day, we make a few big, proactive decisions beforehand.
So, we conserve our willpower for when it's really needed, rather than burning it all up on deciding whether to eat that cookie or go to the gym when we're already tired.
Precisely. Another powerful pre-commitment strategy is using commitment devices. This is where you create a mechanism that enforces your decision. Think about Noah Kagan, who famously put a jar of $100 bills on his desk and told himself that every time he checked Facebook during work hours, he'd have to mail $100 to a political enemy.
That sounds intense, but I can see how that would be incredibly effective. The pain of losing that money, especially to someone you disagree with, would be a huge motivator to stay off Facebook.
It's a strong example of making the cost of cheating extremely high. On a less extreme note, for writers, they might pre-commit to writing a certain number of words by setting up a system where if they don't meet the word count, they have to donate to a cause they dislike.
Okay, so these commitment devices, whether financial, social, or even just creating a system with built-in penalties, are essentially forms of pre-commitment that use external pressures to ensure we stick to our goals.
That's a great summary, Lisa. We're essentially building our own personalized systems of accountability and consequence. Another tactic is pre-selecting your actions for specific situations. For instance, if you know you tend to overspend when you go grocery shopping, you can pre-commit to only buying items on a strict list. Or even better, pre-order your groceries online for pickup.
That online grocery ordering is a fantastic example of pre-commitment in action. You decide what you need before you're actually in the tempting environment of the store.
Right. And for those moments when you're feeling overwhelmed, a pre-commitment could be deciding in advance what you'll do when that feeling strikes. For example, you might pre-commit to taking a 5-minute walk and listening to a specific podcast episode, or doing a simple breathing exercise. You've already decided on the solution, so when the overwhelm hits, you don't have to waste energy figuring out what to do.
This is so useful. It's about foresight and planning your responses to predictable challenges. So, to recap, we've looked at pre-portioning food, pre-preparing meals, setting out workout clothes, financial commitments for fitness, reducing temptation and creating friction, like phone limitations, scheduling work blocks and using website blockers, signing up for classes, or hiring tutors for learning, using commitment devices with financial penalties, like Noah Kagan's example, pre-selecting actions like grocery lists or online ordering, and predetermining your responses to challenging emotions.
That's a comprehensive list, Lisa. And remember, the goal here is to make your desired behaviors the default, or at least the path of least resistance. You're not trying to force yourself in the moment. You're setting yourself up for success before the moment arrives.
It's about being proactive rather than reactive. It's about outsmarting your future self's potential wavering will.
Exactly. Pre-commitment is a powerful tool that, when used consistently, can lead to significant improvements in self-discipline and the achievement of your goals. It requires a little upfront thought and effort, but the rewards in terms of reduced struggle and increased success are immense.
It feels like we've just scratched the surface, but these practical tactics give us a clear starting point. I'm excited to try some of these out myself.
Me too. And remember, the key is experimentation. Find what works best for your specific goals and your own patterns of behavior. Don't be afraid to try different approaches.
So, we've covered the concept of pre-commitment, and now we've explored a variety of practical ways to implement it. We've seen how pre-portioning, financial incentives, friction, and commitment devices can all serve as powerful tools to lock in our decisions and make our desired behaviors more likely.
Indeed, by proactively setting up our environment and future actions, we can significantly reduce the reliance on fleeting willpower and build a much more solid foundation for lasting change.
Thanks for listening.
Welcome back. Last time we covered pre-commitment. Today, a technique that makes difficult tasks appealing.
Exactly. We're talking about temptation bundling, and honestly, Alex, this one feels like a game changer. It's all about making those have TOS more appealing by tying them to those want TOS.
That's the core of it, Lisa. Temptation bundling is a strategy where you pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. The enjoyable activity is only allowed during the less enjoyable one. It creates a powerful incentive.
So it's like saying, I can only watch my favorite show while I'm folding laundry, or I get to listen to that new podcast only when I'm at the gym.
Precisely. Think of it as a reward system you build into the task itself. We've talked about how motivation isn't always readily available and how willpower can be depleted. This strategy bypasses the need for constant, high levels of motivation. You're not relying on sheer willpower. You're leveraging your natural desires to get things done.
It's almost like tricking your brain into wanting to do the thing it's been avoiding.
In a way, yes. And it taps into some deep psychological principles. Remember how our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain? Temptation bundling capitalizes on that. By linking a necessary but potentially unpleasant task with something rewarding, we're essentially reprogramming our brain's association with that task.
So, the act of doing the less desirable task starts to elicit a slightly more positive feeling because it's now paired with the enjoyable activity.
Exactly. And this is where it connects to our earlier discussions on environment design and cues. We've learned that our environment and the cues within it can strongly influence our behavior. Temptation bundling is a way to actively design a positive cue for action. The temptation becomes the cue that signals it's time to engage in the necessary task.
That makes so much sense. Instead of fighting against your desires, you're using them as a lever. What are some of the first steps to implementing this?
The first step is identifying your temptations, the things you genuinely enjoy and look forward to. These are your want-to activities. They could be anything from listening to audiobooks, scrolling through social media, playing a video game, or enjoying a favorite snack.
Okay, so list out all the things I love doing. Got it.
Then, you identify the tasks you tend to procrastinate on or find difficult. These are your have-to activities. Think about work tasks, household chores, exercise, or even studying,
The things that usually end up on the back burner, right?
right? Now comes the bundling. You pair a specific want to with a specific have to. The crucial rule here is that the enjoyable activity is only permitted while you're engaged in the necessary task. If you stop doing the necessary task, you have to stop the enjoyable activity too.
This is where the commitment comes in. It's not just having the temptation available, it's limiting it to that specific task.
Absolutely. Let's take an example. Imagine someone finds reading industry reports incredibly boring, but they love listening to podcasts. They can decide, I will only listen to my favorite podcasts while I am reading these reports. They set the industry reports in front of them, press play on their podcast, and commit to reading until the podcast episode is finished.
And if they get bored and stop reading, the podcast has to stop too. That's a strong incentive to keep going.
It is. Another example might be someone who wants to exercise more, but find it a slog. They could say, I will only watch my favorite binge-worthy TV show while I am on the treadmill or elliptical. The show becomes the sole companion to the workout.
This feels particularly powerful for tasks that require sustained focus for a period of time. You're essentially creating a time block for the necessary task, and the enjoyable activity is the anchor that keeps you there.
Exactly. And it's important to be realistic with your pairings. Don't bundle something that requires intense focus with a highly distracting temptation. For instance, bundling highly engaging social media browsing with complex problem solving might be counterproductive. The temptation should support the task, not undermine it.
So, the intention is to make the have to more palatable, not to completely derail it with the want to.
Precisely. The trick is to choose temptations that are enjoyable enough to motivate you, but not so overwhelming that they become the sole focus. Think about the duration of the temptation as well. A short, pleasant podcast episode can work well for a task of similar duration.
This also reminds me of how we design our environment. We are actively designing this specific moment, linking the task with a positive experience.
You're absolutely right, Lisa. It's a proactive approach. Instead of waiting for motivation to strike or struggling against your natural inclinations, you're creating a system that leverages them. It's about making your future self grateful for the choices your present self is making by setting up these appealing associations.
So, to recap what we've discussed so far about temptation bundling, first, identify your enjoyable want-to activities. Second, identify the tasks you need to do but often avoid, your have-to activities. Third, pair these together with the crucial rule that the enjoyable activity is only allowed during the necessary task.
And remember, the goal is to make the challenging task more appealing, and the temptation should enhance, not derail, your focus on the task. This allows you to get through your responsibilities while also enjoying something you like. It's a win-win scenario that can dramatically boost your productivity and reduce procrastination.
It feels like a more sustainable way to build discipline than trying to white-knuckle your way through every difficult task. You're creating an internal reward system.
That's a great way to put it. You're not just forcing yourself to do something. You're creating a positive association that makes you want to do it, or at least makes it significantly less unpleasant. This strategy can be incredibly empowering because it shifts your mindset from one of obligation to one of opportunity.
It also makes those tasks feel less like chores and more like opportunities to access something enjoyable. The difficulty of the task becomes less of a barrier.
Exactly. And as we move forward, we'll explore more creative applications of this technique, showing just how versatile temptation bundling can be. But for now, the key takeaway is simple. Find what you love, find what you need to do, and link them together. Make your desires work for you.
It's about being smart with your psychology, Alex.
Precisely. And that smart application of psychology is what we're all about with the self-discipline code.
It's a fantastic strategy to start implementing right away.
Indeed. Next episode, we'll dive into creative applications and explore even more ways to use temptation bundling to your advantage. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. In our last episode, we explored temptation bundling. It's a strategy where you pair something you want to do with something you need to do.
Right, Alex. We learned it can make less appealing tasks feel more rewarding, essentially tricking our brains into embracing them. Think of it as a personal reward system for productivity.
Exactly. And today, we're putting that understanding into high gear. Episode 10 is all about the creative applications of temptation bundling. We'll explore how to identify your unique temptations and tasks, and craft effective bundles that work for you.
Since our listeners know the what and why, we're focusing on the how with practical examples. So, let's get started with finding those perfect pairing partners.
The first step to creative temptation bundling is introspection. Honestly assess two things. What are your guilty pleasures, the things you look forward to? And conversely, what are those necessary tasks that you tend to put off?
So, one side is the want to do, and the other is the need to do that we often resist. For instance, someone might love listening to podcasts. That's a want to do. And they might dread doing household chores. That's a need to do they resist.
Precisely, Lisa. And here's where the bundling magic happens. You could say, I will only listen to my favorite true crime podcast while I'm doing the dishes. Or, I'll allow myself to watch just one episode of that new streaming series after I've completed my workout for the day.
Oh, I like that. It creates a clear condition. So, the podcast becomes the reward for the chores. It's not just about doing the chore, it's about earning access to something enjoyable.
Exactly. And this applies to almost any area of life. Let's consider learning a new skill. Many of us want to learn a new language or how to play an instrument. But practicing can feel like a grind, especially in the beginning.
Yes, the initial progress can be slow, and that's demotivating. So, what's a creative bundle for that?
Imagine you're learning Spanish. Your need to do is to practice your verb conjugations for 20 minutes. Your want to do might be enjoying a really good cup of coffee or a special treat. So, you could bundle it. I will practice Spanish verb conjugations for 20 minutes, and only then will I make myself that gourmet pour-over coffee.
That's brilliant. It makes the enjoyable part of the activity the immediate reward for completing the less enjoyable but necessary part. It shifts the focus from the drudgery to the payoff.
And we could get even more creative. Think about your work tasks. Perhaps you have to review lengthy reports, which can be incredibly tedious. Your want to do might be scrolling through social media for 5 minutes, or perhaps enjoying a particular type of music.
So, the bundle could be For every 2 pages of this report I review, I will allow myself 5 minutes of social media scrolling. Or I'll listen to my focus music playlist only while I'm deep diving into these financial statements.
You're getting it. The key is to make the want to do contingent on completing a portion or all of the need to do. It's about establishing a clear cause and effect relationship in your own mind.
This is so much more engaging than just telling yourself to buckle down or just do it. It provides a positive reinforcement loop.
Absolutely. Let's consider another angle: fitness. Many people struggle with consistency. They might enjoy certain active hobbies, like hiking or dancing, but find structured workouts boring.
A classic example. So, if someone dislikes going to the gym but loves going for walks in a beautiful park,
They could bundle it. I will complete my prescribed strength training routine only when I can do it in that scenic park, perhaps watching a fitness video on a tablet if they need the guidance. Or I'll listen to my favorite upbeat music playlist only during my gym sessions.
I've heard of people listening to audiobooks as well, but it needs to be a book they are actively excited about, right? Not just any book.
Precisely. The enjoyment factor of the want to do is crucial. If it's a chore to even listen to the audiobook, it won't serve as an effective motivator. Think of it like giving yourself a high five after a good job.
So, it's not just about what you pair, but how you pair it. The reward needs to genuinely be something you anticipate and look forward to.
Exactly. Consider personal development. Many of us want to read more nonfiction or listen to educational podcasts, but find it hard to dedicate focused time. Your want to do might be enjoying a quiet moment with a cup of tea.
So, to read that dense business book, you'd say, I'll read for 15 minutes, and then I'll grant myself a 5-minute tea break to savor it.
Perfect. Or if you want to listen to an interview series on a topic you're passionate about, but you're also trying to limit your screen time, you can bundle them. I will listen to one episode of this informative podcast while I'm tidying up my workspace.
This makes the need to do feel like a gateway to the desirable activity. It reframes the entire experience.
And you can be really creative with the wants. It doesn't always have to be passive entertainment. It could be a small indulgence, like a specific healthy snack you love, or even a few minutes of pleasant social interaction.
So, for tasks that require focus, like writing or coding, where social interaction might be a distraction, you could structure it so that after a block of focused work, you get to chat with a friend for 10 minutes.
That's a great example. It's about recognizing what truly motivates you. This requires experimentation. Not every bundle will be a home run. You might try pairing a task with something and find it doesn't quite ignite the desired motivation.
And that's okay, right? It's a process of discovery, like fine-tuning a recipe.
Absolutely. The key is to be willing to adjust. If a particular want to do isn't exciting enough, find a stronger one. If the need to do is too overwhelming, break it down into smaller, more manageable chunks and then bundle those.
So, instead of clean the entire garage, which feels monumental, it could be organize one shelf in the garage, and then I get to listen to my favorite music while I do that.
You've nailed it. It's about making the desirable outcome directly tied to the completion of the task, no matter how small the task itself might be. This creates a positive feedback loop, reinforcing the behavior.
We've covered a lot of ground, Alex. From learning a language to fitness to work tasks, it seems temptation bundling can be incredibly versatile.
It truly is. The power lies in identifying what you truly desire and what you tend to avoid, and then artfully combining them. It's about designing your own system of rewards that aligns with your goals.
So, listeners, the challenge is to look at your own habits and tasks. What are your go-to enjoyments? What are the necessary evils you postpone? Start pairing them up and see the magic unfold.
By consciously creating these associations, you're not just getting tasks done, you're actively training your brain to associate effort with pleasure, making self-discipline feel less like a struggle and more like a natural progression toward your desires.
It's a proactive way to engineer your own motivation, making those less exciting duties the necessary step towards something you're already looking forward to.
So, give it a try, experiment, and find what works best for you. The creativity is in the pairing.
And that's a fantastic way to wrap up our deep dive into temptation bundling.
Next episode, we'll shift gears to the crucial element of accountability. We'll discuss why having external support can be a game changer for sticking to your commitments. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. Today, we're discussing the accountability advantage.
Last time, we explored temptation bundling, making challenging tasks more appealing. Now, we're talking about why external support is so crucial for sticking to our goals.
Exactly. When we commit to something, especially with others, it taps into our desire to be seen as reliable. We don't want to disappoint others or ourselves. This social commitment is a powerful motivator.
So, it's about reputation? We want to avoid looking inconsistent.
Precisely. It's our innate drive for social approval and aversion to disapproval. Promising a friend you'll meet for a run makes you far more likely to go than planning it alone.
That makes sense. It shifts the goal from a personal aspiration to a shared, or at least witnessed, commitment.
Another key factor is the psychology of loss aversion. We feel the pain of a loss more strongly than the pleasure of an equal gain. Accountability systems often involve potential losses, like forfeiting a bet or facing the sting of failure.
Loss aversion, so the negative consequences of not doing something become more motivating than the positive rewards.
Exactly. That tangible potential loss provides a strong push. This is why contracts or stakes can be so effective. They make consequences feel real and immediate.
It makes what we stand to lose much more noticeable. This goes beyond just good intentions.
Indeed, and accountability partners provide vital self-awareness. We're often not as objective about our own progress or justifications as we think.
Oh, my internal monologue is excellent at convincing me that just this once is a good idea.
It's the art of self-deception. An external view cuts through those rationalizations. An accountability partner can point out patterns you might be ignoring, like how often you miss exercise goals.
They act as an objective mirror, reflecting our actions without our personal bias. It forces us to confront reality.
Right? They ask clarifying questions that prompt reflection. It's about illumination, revealing subtle self-sabotage. Remember willpower depletion? Accountability helps you recognize when you might be making excuses.
So, social commitment, loss aversion, and self-awareness are key drivers. Anything else?
Yes, the power of shared effort and inspiration. Working alone can feel isolating. With an accountability partner, you're sharing the journey, celebrating wins, and learning from stumbles.
That camaraderie must be incredibly motivating. It turns a struggle into a shared mission.
Precisely. It's like having a teammate. This shared journey offers perspective and encouragement. Imagine feeling overwhelmed. Your partner might remind you of your progress or offer support.
That shared belief is contagious. It's not just reporting in, but having someone invested in your success who understands your challenges.
This creates a positive feedback loop. Your commitment inspires them. Their support inspires you, and this shared momentum propels you forward.
To recap, the accountability advantage is fundamental. We need it because it uses our desire for consistency, our aversion to loss, provides self-awareness, and offers the inspiration of a shared journey.
That's a perfect summary. Tapping into these external forces amplifies our internal resolve. Seeking accountability is a smart strategy, not a sign of weakness.
It reframes accountability, not as being policed, but as being supported and empowered.
Exactly. In our next episode, we'll get practical. We'll cover how to build these accountability systems, from finding a friend to setting up structured pacts.
Fantastic! If you've struggled to stay on track, remember you don't have to do it alone. External support is a powerful ally.
Absolutely. That's all for today on the Self-Discipline Code. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. Last time, we explored the incredible power of accountability. Today, we're diving deep into the practical side, how to build your own accountability pact. We'll cover finding the right partners, leveraging systems, and even when professional coaching might be your best bet.
That's right, Alex. Last episode, we talked about how knowing someone else is watching or expecting something from you can be a huge motivator. But how do you actually create that support system? It's not always as simple as just asking a friend.
Exactly. So, let's start with the most accessible form of accountability, friends and peers. You could form an accountability pact or a small group. Think of a pact as an agreement between two or more people to hold each other responsible for specific goals. This could be anything from exercising daily to completing work projects to learning a new skill.
And what makes a good accountability partner? Because I imagine not everyone is cut out for it. Some friends might be too laid back, or perhaps not on the same page with your goals.
That's a crucial point, Lisa. The ideal accountability partner is someone who is reliable, supportive, and also committed to their own goals. They don't necessarily have to have the exact same goals, but they should understand the value of accountability and be willing to dedicate time to check-ins. Crucially, they should be honest, not just tell you what you want to hear.
So, honesty and commitment are key. How often should these check-ins happen? And what should they look like?
The frequency and format depend entirely on your goals and your pact. For frequent habits, daily or every other day, check-ins might be best. For larger projects, perhaps a weekly review. The check-in itself can be a quick text message, a short phone call, or even a dedicated meeting. The core idea is to report on your progress, your successes, and your challenges.
Reporting on challenges is so important, isn't it? Because that's often when we need the most support.
Absolutely. When you share your struggles, your partner can offer advice, encouragement, or simply remind you why you started. It's about creating a safe space to be vulnerable about your journey. And remember, it's a two-way street. You're not just there to report, you're there to support your partner too. This shared commitment amplifies the effectiveness.
What if you can't find a suitable friend, or you want to diversify your accountability sources? Are there other options?
Definitely. This is where accountability systems and, for some, professional coaching come in. A system can be as simple as a habit tracker you use consistently or a project management tool. However, these are more self-directed. To get that external push, you can look into online communities or forums focused on your specific interests or goals.
So like joining a running club forum or a writing group online. That makes sense. People there share similar aspirations and often offer support and tips.
Precisely. Many online platforms are designed to foster this sense of community and mutual encouragement. You can share your progress, ask for advice when you hit a roadblock, and celebrate milestones together. This leverages the power of collective momentum.
And then there's professional coaching. When would someone consider that as opposed to relying on friends or online groups?
Professional coaching is a more structured and often more intensive approach. It's ideal for individuals who have significant, complex goals, or those who have struggled to maintain discipline with self-directed or peer-based accountability. A coach is trained to ask powerful questions, provide objective feedback, and guide you through developing strategies tailored to your unique challenges.
So, a coach isn't just a cheerleader, they're a strategic partner?
Exactly. They have the expertise to help you identify roadblocks you might not even be aware of. They can help you refine your goals, break them down into actionable steps, and hold you accountable to that plan. Think of it as investing in a professional guide for your personal development journey.
That sounds incredibly valuable, especially if you're serious about a particular outcome. What are some of the practical ways a coach might help you set up accountability?
A coach will typically work with you to define clear, measurable goals. Then, they'll help you establish a schedule for reporting your progress. This might involve weekly calls where you go over what you accomplished, what you struggled with, and what your plan is for the coming week. They might also assign homework, like trying a new strategy or reflecting on a specific behavior.
It sounds like a coach provides a very firm structure. What if someone isn't ready for a full coaching commitment but wants something more than casual check-ins?
There are actually hybrid approaches. Some platforms offer accountability buddies curated by professionals, or group coaching sessions that are more affordable than one-on-one coaching. You could also consider hiring an accountability coach for a defined period, say 3 months, to help you establish strong habits and systems that you can then maintain more independently.
That's a great point, Alex. It doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing decision. You can tailor the level of support to your needs and resources. So, to recap, building a strong accountability pact involves several options: partnering with friends or peers for mutual support and honest feedback, utilizing online communities and systems for broader engagement and shared motivation, or investing in professional coaching for structured guidance and expert accountability.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Remember, the key is to find what resonates with you and your goals. Don't be afraid to experiment. Perhaps you start with a friend for your morning meditation habit, join an online forum for your creative writing project, and consider a coach for a major career transition.
And in all these cases, the underlying principle is the same: making your commitments visible and having someone or something to report to. This external leverage is what often propels us past our internal resistance.
Indeed, we often underestimate how much we can achieve when we know we're not on this journey alone, and when we've put structures in place to ensure we follow through. Whether it's a whispered promise to a friend or a formal agreement with a professional, accountability is a powerful tool in your self-discipline arsenal.
So, the next step for listeners is to actively consider who or what can be part of their accountability pact. Think about your current goals and where that external support would make the biggest difference.
Absolutely. And don't wait for the perfect person or system to appear. Sometimes you just need to take the first step and propose the pact. You might be surprised at who is willing to join you.
We've covered so many actionable strategies throughout this series, from understanding willpower to designing your environment, and now building robust accountability. It's about creating a personalized system that works for you.
And that's exactly what we'll be focusing on in our next episode. Integrating all these strategies into your own unique self-discipline system will help you pull together all the pieces we've discussed for lifelong success.
Fantastic. So, for this episode on building your accountability pact, remember to identify your goals, find your partners or systems, and commit to those regular check-ins.
Next episode, integrating all strategies into your personal self-discipline system. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. Last time, we dove deep into the accountability advantage, exploring how external support systems can dramatically boost our chances of success. Today, we're shifting our focus to a fundamental building block of any goal-oriented endeavor, the art of setting goals. Specifically, we'll be looking at the well-known SMART framework and then exploring how to go even further to truly harness the power of well-defined objectives.
Goals, goals, goals. It sounds simple, right? We all have them, but setting them in a way that actually drives our behavior towards achievement can be surprisingly tricky. It's not just about wishing for something, it's about defining it so clearly that it practically begs to be accomplished.
Exactly, Lisa. And that's where the SMART framework comes in. You've probably heard of it before, but let's break down what each letter really means and why it's so effective for building self-discipline. SMART is an acronym. a handy way to remember the key characteristics of a well-set goal.
So, what does SMART stand for?
First, the S stands for specific. A specific goal is clear and unambiguous. Instead of saying, I want to get in shape, a specific goal would be, I want to be able to run a 5-kilometer race without stopping. See the difference? One is vague, the other is precise.
Oh, I see. Vague goals leave too much room for interpretation and, let's be honest, excuses. Specific goals tell you exactly what you need to do.
Precisely. Next is M for measurable. How will you know when you've achieved your goal? For our running example, the measurement is clear, completing a 5-kilometer race. If your goal is to save money, a measurable aspect would be a specific dollar amount, like save $2,000. Without a way to measure progress, it's hard to stay motivated. It feels like you're just drifting.
That makes sense. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it, as they say. So, specific and measurable. What's next?
The stands for achievable or sometimes attainable. This means the goal should be realistic for your current situation and resources. It should push you, yes, but not be so far out of reach that it's discouraging. If you've never run a mile before, setting a goal to run a marathon next month might be setting yourself up for failure. But aiming for a 5K in a few months with consistent training is achievable.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot between challenging and overwhelming. We don't want to set ourselves up for disappointment.
Exactly. Now, the R in SMART stands for relevant. This is a crucial one for self-discipline. A relevant goal is one that aligns with your broader values and long-term aspirations. Why is this goal important to you? If getting in shape is important for your health and energy levels, and that's a core value for you, then the goal is relevant. If it's just something you feel you should do without a genuine connection, it's less likely to stick.
So it ties back to our why, right? The deeper meaning behind the goal makes it more compelling.
You've got it. And finally, the T is for time-bound. This means setting a deadline. A goal without a deadline is like a ship without a rudder. It can drift forever. For our runner, the deadline might be the date of the local 5K race. For saving money, it could be save $2,000 by the end of the year. Deadlines create a sense of urgency and help you prioritize.
So that's SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It provides a great checklist for evaluating any goal we set.
It does. But as powerful as SMART is, we can often take it even further, especially when it comes to supercharging our self-discipline. Think about how these SMART principles connect with what we've already discussed. A specific, measurable goal makes it easier to design your environment for success, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If I know I need to run 5K by a certain date, I can set up my running shoes by the door, schedule my runs in my calendar, and even pack my gym bag the night before. It gives me concrete actions to build my environment around.
And how about pre-commitment? A time-bound, relevant goal makes pre-commitment strategies much more effective. If you've committed to saving that $2,000 by year end, you're far more likely to use pre-commitment tactics, like automatically transferring a set amount to savings each payday.
Right.
It's all interconnected. The clarity of a SMART goal provides the foundation for all these other self-discipline strategies.
Indeed. Now, let's talk about going beyond SMART. One way to enhance a goal is to frame it positively. Instead of focusing on what you don't want, focus on what you do want. For example, instead of I will stop eating junk food, a more powerful frame might be I will nourish my body with healthy, whole foods. This cognitive shift can be surprisingly impactful.
That's a great point. It shifts the focus from restriction to abundance, from deprivation to empowerment.
Absolutely. Another enhancement is making goals process-oriented, not just outcome-oriented. While having an outcome like running a 5K is important, focusing on the process of training can be more sustainable. Process goals might be, I will run 3 times this week, or I will complete my training plan for the next 4 weeks. These give you more frequent wins and make progress feel more consistent. Remember how we talked about willpower being a muscle? Process goals involve regular exercise for that muscle.
So instead of just aiming for the finish line, we're focusing on the consistent steps that get us there. That seems less daunting and more like building a habit, which is, of course, what this whole series is about.
Exactly. And this ties into micro habits, which we'll explore in more detail later. Another way to elevate goals is to make them exciting and challenging, to inject a sense of adventure. Think of it as gamifying your goals. If you try to read more, maybe you set a goal to read a chapter a day, but you also set a challenge to try reading in a new, cozy spot each week, or to find a book on a topic you know absolutely nothing about.
Oh, I love that. Turning tasks into mini adventures. It makes the journey itself rewarding, not just the destination. And then there's the idea of making goals visually engaging.
Yes, for some people, creating a visual representation of their goals can be incredibly motivating. This could be a vision board, a progress tracker on a whiteboard, or even just a picture that represents your desired outcome placed somewhere you'll see it daily. When you see it, it serves as a constant reminder of what you're working towards. Remember when we discussed designing your environment? Visualizing your goal is a powerful form of environmental design.
It's like giving your goal a physical presence in your life. It's no longer just an abstract idea, it's something tangible you interact with.
Precisely. And to make goals even more powerful, we can link them to emotions. What will achieving this goal feel like? Will you feel proud, energized, peaceful? Connecting to those positive emotions adds another layer of motivation. Conversely, consider the negative emotions you might experience if you don't achieve it. Though we often focus on positive framing, understanding the consequences can also be a motivator for some.
So, it's not just about the logical what and how, but also about the emotional why and what if.
Absolutely. And finally, when setting goals, it's vital to consider potential obstacles and plan for them. This is related to our previous discussions on environmental design and pre-commitment. If your goal is to exercise daily, what might prevent you? Bad weather? Feeling tired? Low motivation? By anticipating these, you can proactively create solutions. For instance, if bad weather is an obstacle, you might decide to have a workout streaming service ready for indoor exercises.
So, it's about proactive problem solving. Instead of being blindsided by challenges, we're prepared to meet them head on. It makes the whole process feel much more robust and less fragile.
Exactly. So, to recap, we started with the SMART framework: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. These characteristics ensure your goals are clear, actionable, and aligned with your aspirations. Then, we explored ways to enhance your goals further, framing them positively, focusing on process over outcome, making them exciting through gamification, visualizing them, connecting them to emotions, and proactively planning for obstacles.
It's so clear now. Setting effective goals isn't just a one-time event. It's an art form that requires thoughtful consideration. When our goals are well-defined, they become powerful anchors, guiding our decisions and reinforcing the strategies we've learned for building lasting self-discipline.
You've summarized it perfectly, Lisa. Well-defined goals are your compass and your map in this journey of self-discipline. They tell you where you're going and how you're going to get there. Next episode, we'll build on this foundation by looking at how to break down even the largest goals into manageable steps, introducing the concept of micro habits. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. Last time, we dove deep into the art of goal setting, exploring frameworks like SMART goals to ensure our aspirations are clear and achievable. Now that we've talked about setting the right targets, it's time to discuss how we actually reach them.
That's right, Alex. Setting a big, inspiring goal is fantastic, but it can also feel incredibly daunting. If I want to run a marathon, for example, just thinking about the 26.2 miles can be enough to make me want to stay on the couch.
Exactly. And that's where the power of micro habits comes in. We're talking about breaking down those massive goals into the smallest, most manageable steps imaginable. Think of it like building a towering skyscraper. You don't just magically erect the whole thing at once. You start with one small brick, then another and another.
So, a micro habit is essentially the tiniest possible action you can take towards your larger goal.
Precisely. And there's a really important reason for this. Remember how we talked about willpower being like a muscle in episode 3? That muscle gets tired with overuse. If your first step toward a goal involves a huge burst of willpower, like suddenly deciding to exercise for an hour every single day when you've never exercised before, you're likely to exhaust that muscle before you even get going.
And then you feel defeated and give up. It's like trying to lift a weight that's far too heavy for you in the gym. You'll strain yourself and be sore for days, if not weeks.
That's a perfect analogy, Lisa. Micro habits, on the other hand, require very little willpower. They're so small that they practically happen on autopilot. Let's go back to your marathon goal. Instead of saying, I will run 5 miles today, a micro habit might be, I will put on my running shoes. That's it.
Putting on running shoes? That seems almost ridiculously small.
It does, doesn't it? But here's the magic. Once those shoes are on, the next tiny step, perhaps just walking out the door, becomes much easier. And from there, maybe a gentle jog around the block. Each step is so small that it doesn't trigger that feeling of dread or resistance.
So, you're creating a chain reaction of tiny, low effort actions. Each one builds momentum for the next.
Exactly. And this approach directly combats procrastination. Procrastination often stems from feeling overwhelmed by the size of a task. By shrinking the task down to a micro habit, you eliminate that feeling of being overwhelmed. The barrier to entry becomes incredibly low.
It's about making it almost impossible not to do it. If the goal is just to put on your running shoes and your shoes are right there, why wouldn't you?
You've got it. And this is crucial for building consistency. Consistency is the bedrock of self-discipline. It's not about having perfect motivation every single day. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. Micro habits make showing up incredibly easy.
Okay, let's break this down a bit more. How do we identify these micro habits for different goals?
The key is to ask yourself, what is the absolute smallest version of this action? For someone wanting to read more, a micro habit isn't read a chapter. It might be open a book or read one sentence. For someone wanting to meditate, it's not meditate for 20 minutes. It could be sit down and close your eyes for 30 seconds.
So, you deliberately make the starting point almost trivial. And what happens after you complete that tiny task? Does it automatically lead to the bigger action?
Not always immediately, and that's okay. The primary goal of the micro habit is to establish the habit itself, the consistent action of showing up. As you build consistency with these tiny steps, your brain starts to associate the activity with progress, and your willpower muscle also gets a gentle workout. Over time, doing the 5-mile run becomes less of a Herculean effort because the preparatory steps have become automatic.
It's like priming the pump. You're just getting the action started, and then it starts to flow. Remember our willpower as a muscle analogy? If you only ever try to lift the heaviest weight in the gym, your muscle won't grow strong. It'll just get fatigued. But if you start with very light weights, you're conditioning the muscle, building its capacity gradually. Micro habits do the same for our behavioral muscles.
That's a brilliant way to put it, Lisa. You're not aiming for a heroic effort out of the gate. You're aiming for consistent, tiny efforts that, over time, build up to significant results. It's the compound interest of self-discipline. A tiny deposit every day adds up to a fortune over years.
And this also helps us avoid that all-or-nothing thinking that can derail us. We often think, if I can't do the perfect workout, I won't do anything at all. Micro habits allow us to operate in the something category, even if it's small.
Absolutely. They provide a safety net. Even on a day when everything feels difficult, you can still perform your micro habit. This maintains your streak, which is incredibly powerful for long-term motivation. Think about learning to play a musical instrument. Your first lesson isn't about mastering symphony. It's about learning to hold the instrument correctly or play a single note.
That makes so much sense. So, to recap, micro habits are about breaking down large goals into the smallest possible, actionable steps. This reduces the willpower required, makes tasks less intimidating, combats procrastination, and builds consistency by making it easy to show up daily. It's about creating a gentle, sustainable path to achieving our bigger ambitions.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. And this principle directly ties into the idea of momentum. Small wins build momentum. When you successfully complete your micro habit, you get a little boost of I did it. This positive reinforcement encourages you to take the next small step. It's a virtuous cycle.
So, for our marathon runner, the sequence might look something like this: 1. Put on running shoes. 2. Walk to the door. 3. Open the door. 4. Take one step outside. 5. Take another step outside.
And so on.
Each step is so small it's almost trivial, but it propels you forward.
Exactly. And you might find that on many days, you'll naturally do more than just the one small step. You might end up going for a short jog or even a longer one. The micro habit just ensures you start. It overcomes the activation energy required to get moving.
This also addresses the issue of feeling discouraged by slow progress. When you're focused on these tiny, immediate actions, you're constantly experiencing small successes. This can be much more encouraging than waiting weeks or months to see the results of a larger goal.
It's about celebrating the process, not just the outcome. And the process, with micro habits, becomes much more enjoyable and less stressful. This makes it far more likely that you'll stick with it long term. It's the opposite of that overwhelming feeling that can come with a massive, distant goal.
I can see how this would be incredibly effective for almost any goal, whether it's fitness, learning a new skill, improving relationships, or even creative pursuits.
Absolutely. Think about writing a book. Instead of write a chapter, a micro habit could be open your writing document or even write one sentence or think of one idea for the story. The key is to make that initial step so small that it feels almost silly not to do it.
It's about making the desired behavior easier to do than not doing it. And building on that willpower as a muscle concept, these small, consistent efforts are like doing light resistance training. You're strengthening the neural pathways associated with the habit without burning out your limited reserves of mental energy.
Precisely. And as you continue with these micro habits, you're not just building physical or skill-based progress. You're also building your confidence. Each tiny success reinforces the belief that you can achieve your larger goals. This is crucial for maintaining motivation and resilience.
So, to quickly summarize what we've covered in this episode, micro habits are the cornerstone of breaking down large goals into their absolute smallest components. By focusing on these tiny, low effort actions, we reduce the demand on our willpower, make it easier to start, combat procrastination, and cultivate the consistency needed for long-term success. It's about building momentum through small, daily wins, much like compounding interest builds wealth over time.
That's a perfect recap, Lisa. Implementing micro habits is a powerful strategy for making even the most ambitious goals feel attainable. It's about focusing on the next small step and then the one after that, building a solid foundation for lasting achievement. Next episode, Keystone Habits, the ripple effect of small changes. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. We've explored micro habits. Today, Keystone Habits.
The Keystone habits, Alex? What are they, and why are they critical for self-discipline?
Think of an arch. The keystone is the central stone that locks others in place. Keystone habits are like that for our lives. They are small habits that, when adopted, start a chain reaction of other positive behaviors.
So, one good habit leads to many others? Can you give an example?
Sure, exercise is a classic. When someone starts exercising regularly, they often find themselves eating healthier, sleeping better, and managing their time more effectively to fit workouts in.
It's not just about the exercise, but how it changes choices throughout the day. Improving one area unlocks improvements elsewhere.
Exactly. Another example is making your bed daily. People who do this tend to be happier, more productive, and better at budgeting.
Making your bed leading to better budgeting? How does that connection work?
Completing a small task first thing creates a sense of order and accomplishment. This positive feeling encourages tackling other tasks, including financial ones. It sets a productive tone for the day.
It's like winning the morning, which propels you forward. These habits create a ripple effect, influencing many areas because they're foundational.
Precisely. Charles Duhigg noted that changing a keystone habit can transform entire systems. He shared how companies improved safety by focusing on one habit, which made workers more aware of other risks.
So, these habits have broader impacts beyond personal discipline. How do we find our own keystone habits? It seems personal.
You're right, it is personal. Experiment and observe. Identify areas where you want widespread improvement. Try a small, consistent change in one area and see the effects.
If I struggle with organization, perhaps dedicating 10 minutes daily to tidying a specific area, like my desk, could be a keystone habit. Then I watch for other changes.
That's a perfect example. You're focusing on a small, actionable step with a gentle nudge. After consistent tidying, you might feel less stressed, more focused, and start tidying other areas naturally.
The beauty is the low struggle for a high payoff. The habit itself is manageable, but its consequences are significant.
Exactly. The effort is low, but the payoff is widespread. It leverages the interconnectedness of our behaviors. Poor sleep, for instance, can lead to poor food choices, low energy, and reduced productivity. Keystone habits reverse that.
It's like finding the master switch for positive change. Are there other common examples besides exercise and making your bed?
Journaling is another. Regularly writing down thoughts can lead to increased self-awareness, better emotional regulation, and improved problem solving. These insights then guide your actions.
Journaling fosters introspection, which informs decisions. You become more aware of thought patterns and can choose more constructive actions.
Indeed. And what about tracking food intake or water consumption? Simply being aware can lead to healthier choices. Measurement and awareness trigger the change.
Awareness is a powerful first step. So, to improve multiple life areas, listeners should identify one small habit with a potential ripple effect and observe the outcomes.
Precisely. It's strategic intervention. You pick one lever that moves many others. Improving sleep, for example, boosts energy, focus, and mood, all contributing to better self-discipline. Prioritizing sleep could be a keystone habit.
This reframes self-discipline from an exhausting battle to a strategic, integrated approach. We apply effort smartly.
Absolutely. Identifying keystone habits is ongoing. What works today might evolve. The key is to keep experimenting, observing, and nurturing those foundational habits that create positive transformations. It's about building momentum.
To recap, keystone habits are small, foundational behaviors triggering a positive chain reaction, like the central stone in an arch. Examples include exercise, making your bed, journaling, or prioritizing sleep. By focusing on these, we create a ripple effect that amplifies self-discipline and achievement without overwhelming changes.
That's a fantastic summary, Lisa. These habits build momentum, enhance self-awareness, and leverage interconnected actions. Next time, we'll focus on how you can personally identify and cultivate your own keystone habits. Next episode, identifying your keystone habits, a personalized approach. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're identifying your personal keystone habits.
Alex, last time we discussed how keystone habits can trigger widespread positive changes. But how do listeners actually find these powerful personal habits?
That's our mission today, Lisa, guiding you to discover habits that will truly transform your self-discipline. It's a personal journey.
A personalized path to building better habits sounds fantastic. Where's the first step?
We begin by understanding what we're looking for. A keystone habit is one that, once adopted, unintentionally leads to other positive behaviors. It's not about adding a multitude of new actions. It's about finding those linchpins that make other healthy choices easier to make.
So, it's not necessarily the most challenging habit, but rather the one that unlocks other desirable behaviors.
Exactly. To find these, reflect on times in your past when adopting one behavior naturally led to other positive outcomes. Can you recall a situation where one habit made other good things fall into place effortlessly?
I can.
When I started taking a walk after dinner, my sleep quality improved, and I found myself craving fewer unhealthy snacks. This wasn't a conscious effort to eat better or sleep more. It just happened as a direct result of the evening walk.
That's a perfect illustration. That post-dinner walk could very well be your keystone habit. Many studies highlight how exercise can naturally lead to better eating patterns, reduce smoking, and increase productivity.
It's remarkable how interconnected our habits are. So, one effective method is to look back at your personal history for these natural chain reactions. What other strategies can we use?
Another powerful approach is to consider habits that enhance self-control or mindfulness. Habits that increase your awareness of your choices or that directly build your willpower muscle often prove to be keystone habits. Remember, a stronger willpower muscle empowers you to resist temptations and make more deliberate, disciplined decisions.
That makes intuitive sense. Anything that boosts our mental resilience or helps us pause and choose our response, rather than just reacting, could be a keystone. Think about developing the ability to say no, or carving out moments for quiet reflection.
Precisely. Let's make this practical. Grab a piece of paper or open a digital note. Brainstorm a list of small, positive habits you've either tried or are curious about adopting. Don't hold back or censor yourself. Consider actions like drinking more water, reading for just 10 minutes, tidying a small area of your space, preparing your clothes for the next day, or even just doing a few simple stretches.
So, the goal here is to create a broad, unfiltered list of potential habits.
Exactly. Get every idea down. Once you have this habit brainstorm list, let's examine each habit through a specific lens, its potential ripple effect. For every habit on your list, ask yourself this critical question. If I were to consistently practice this habit, what other positive changes might naturally emerge in my life?
Okay, so using my dinner walk example again, the ripples I observed were better sleep and reduced craving for unhealthy snacks.
Yes. Now, imagine this. If you began the habit of preparing your outfit for the following day each evening, what might be the subsequent positive outcomes?
Let me think. If my outfit is already prepared, I might feel a greater sense of organization. This could lead to feeling more prepared for the day ahead. It might also mean I'm not rushed in the morning, potentially freeing up time for a quick, healthy breakfast, or perhaps even allowing for a few minutes of calm before diving into my workday.
That's an excellent chain of thought. Preparing your outfit isn't merely about clothing. It can significantly reduce morning stress, encourage a healthier breakfast routine, and establish a sense of order that positively influences your entire day's mindset. That's a powerful ripple effect.
It truly is. So, the focus is on identifying a habit that creates the broadest positive impact, not just in one area, but across multiple aspects of our lives.
You've grasped the core concept. Now, let's explore another angle. Think about habits that directly address stress or improve your emotional regulation. When you feel less stressed and more in control of your emotions, you're inherently better equipped to navigate challenges and make disciplined choices.
That aligns perfectly. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm far more prone to making impulsive, less disciplined decisions. Therefore, a habit that effectively helps manage stress could indeed be a keystone habit.
Precisely. Consider activities such as journaling, practicing deep breathing exercises, or even establishing clear personal boundaries. These might not be the most glamorous habits, but they can be incredibly effective at reducing the friction that often leads to a lapse in self-discipline. They essentially create valuable mental space.
Creating mental space seems absolutely vital. It's like clearing away the fog so that the correct path becomes much easier to discern.
That's a wonderful analogy. So, let's refine our brainstorming exercise. On your list of potential habits, circle the ones you believe will have the most significant ripple effect. Also, circle those that directly contribute to improving your emotional state or enhancing your self-control. These circled habits now stand out as your prime candidates for keystone habits.
So, we're narrowing down our initial list to the most promising contenders, evaluating them based on their potential impact and their capacity to strengthen our inner resolve.
That's correct. For the next crucial step, let's introduce the concept of habit stacking. Remember how we discussed the benefits of linking a new habit to one you already perform consistently? We can effectively use this technique to test our potential keystone habits.
Ah, habit stacking. So, the idea is to try out a potential keystone habit by attaching it to an existing, consistent behavior.
Exactly. For example, if you're considering drinking more water as a potential keystone habit, you could stack it like this. After I brush my teeth in the morning, I will drink a full glass of water. Or if meditation is a candidate, you might try. After I finish my morning coffee, I will meditate for 5 minutes.
So, the strategy is to actively experiment with these circled habits, perhaps for a week or two, by implementing them within a habit stack. Then, we meticulously observe the actual ripple effects to see if the predicted positive changes begin to manifest.
This is where genuine discovery takes place. It moves beyond theoretical consideration and becomes an active experiment. For a few weeks, pay very close attention. Does drinking that extra glass of water lead to improved energy levels throughout your day? Does meditating for 5 minutes genuinely make you feel calmer and perhaps more patient with those around you? Does the simple act of preparing your outfit truly result in smoother, less stressful mornings?
And if a habit we initially believed would be a keystone habit doesn't produce the expected ripples, that's perfectly fine. We simply cross it off our list and proceed to test another promising candidate.
Absolutely. This is an iterative learning process. You are not failing. You're gathering valuable information about what works best for you. This is the essence of a personalized approach. For some individuals, the most impactful keystone habit might be a physical one, like incorporating regular exercise. For others, it could be a mental habit, such as practicing gratitude journaling.
So, to help our listeners consolidate this, let's summarize the process. First, brainstorm a comprehensive list of small, positive habits. Second, carefully filter this list by considering the potential breadth of ripple effects and how effectively each habit enhances self-control or emotional regulation. Third, select your strongest candidate habits and actively test them over a few weeks using the technique of habit stacking.
An excellent and clear summary, Lisa. And while you're engaged in this experimentation phase, pay close attention to how these habits make you feel. Do they cultivate a sense of accomplishment? Do they make engaging in other healthy choices feel more automatic and less effortful? These are strong indicators that you are indeed on the right path to identifying your keystone habits.
It all boils down to finding that one or two consistent actions that make the entire journey of adopting good behaviors feel significantly smoother.
Indeed, your keystone habit serves as the foundational element upon which you can construct a more disciplined and purposeful life. It's that habit which transforms your other efforts from a struggle into what feels like a natural, organic progression.
So, the crucial takeaway is not just to select a habit, but to deeply understand its unique potential power within your own life, and then to actively test its impact through consistent practice.
Precisely. This dedicated process of identifying your personal keystone habits represents a significant stride in mastering your self-discipline. It's about working smarter, not necessarily harder, by harnessing the inherent power of these critical habits.
I feel I have a much clearer roadmap now for discovering my own keystone habits. It's a truly empowering process.
It most certainly is. Next episode, we will shift our focus to the vital topic of managing your energy levels, as this is the essential fuel that powers all self-discipline.
That sounds like a very important topic, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Today we discuss managing your energy, the fuel for self-discipline.
Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. We're diving into episode 17, and today we're talking about something absolutely foundational to building lasting willpower: managing your energy.
That's right, Lisa. We've talked a lot about various strategies for self-discipline, from environmental design to pre-commitment and accountability. But all those tactics require something fundamental: energy. If your energy tanks are empty, none of those tools will work very well.
Exactly.
Think of self-discipline like a sophisticated machine. You can have all the best parts and blueprints, but without fuel, it won't run. Our energy is that fuel. In episode 3, we touched on the science of willpower depletion, where willpower acts like a muscle that can get tired. Well, managing your energy is how you keep that muscle from getting fatigued too quickly.
So, when we talk about managing energy, what exactly are we referring to? Is it just about getting enough sleep?
Sleep is a huge part, absolutely. But it's broader than that. We have different types of energy: physical, mental, and emotional. And they all play a crucial role in our ability to exert self-control and stick to our goals.
Let's break those down. First, physical energy. This is your baseline vitality, powered by the basics of life: good sleep, nourishing food, and regular movement. When your physical energy is low, everything feels harder. Your brain is fogged, your patience is thin, and the temptation to just give up or indulge in something easy becomes overwhelming.
It's like trying to run a marathon on an empty stomach. You might take a few steps, but you won't get very far. So, for physical energy, we're talking about ensuring we're getting enough quality sleep, eating a balanced diet, and incorporating some form of exercise into our routines. These aren't just nice to haves, they are non negotiable for sustained self discipline.
Precisely. Many people try to push through when they're physically depleted, thinking it's a matter of grit. But it's often just a losing battle against biology. Your body is sending signals it needs rest and fuel, and ignoring those signals will inevitably lead to a crash.
Okay, so that's physical energy. What about mental energy? That seems different.
Mental energy is your capacity for focus, concentration, and clear thinking. It's what allows you to tackle complex problems, make thoughtful decisions, and resist distractions. This type of energy is heavily impacted by mental load, the sheer amount of information and tasks your brain is processing. Overwhelm is a major drain on mental energy.
Ah, so that explains why after a long day of meetings and problem solving, my brain feels like mush, and I can barely decide what to watch on TV, let alone tackle a demanding personal project.
Exactly. Things like multitasking, constant interruptions, and information overload are all significant drains on mental energy. To manage it, we need to create periods of focused work, minimize distractions, and allow our minds to rest and recover through breaks and downtime.
So, building on the idea of willpower as a muscle, it seems like mental energy is how well trained and well rested that muscle is for cognitive tasks.
That's a great analogy, Lisa. And just like physical muscles, our mental stamina can be improved through practice and proper recovery. Techniques like mindfulness, meditation, or even just taking short, deliberate breaks can help replenish mental energy. It's about being intentional with how we use our cognitive resources.
I can see how being more intentional with our work, perhaps through time blocking or single tasking, would really help preserve that mental energy for when we truly need it.
Absolutely. And then we have emotional energy. This is our capacity to manage our feelings, respond resiliently to challenges, and maintain positive relationships. Low emotional energy can manifest as irritability, cynicism, or feeling overwhelmed by stress.
This one feels particularly tricky. Our emotions can be so volatile. How do we actively manage emotional energy?
Emotional energy is replenished by engaging in activities that bring us joy, fulfillment, and connection. It's also heavily impacted by how we process and respond to stressful situations. Suppressing emotions or dwelling on negative experiences can be incredibly draining.
So, it's about actively seeking out positive experiences and finding healthy ways to process difficult ones.
Precisely. This could involve spending time with loved ones, pursuing hobbies, practicing gratitude, or developing coping mechanisms for stress. It's about building emotional resilience, which acts as a buffer against common stressors and prevents our emotional reserves from being depleted. Remember how we discussed the power of building positive habits? Many of those habits directly contribute to replenishing our emotional energy.
It's fascinating how interconnected these three types of energy are. If one is depleted, it inevitably affects the others.
They're deeply interconnected. Poor sleep, for example, not only drains physical energy, but also impairs our ability to focus mentally and regulate our emotions. Similarly, chronic emotional stress can lead to physical fatigue and make it difficult to concentrate.
So, in essence, to have sustained self discipline, we need to be proactive about managing all three: physical, mental, and emotional energy. It's not just about willpower, it's about having the fundamental resources to exert willpower.
Exactly. Think back to the concept of willpower depletion from episode 3. If you're constantly running on empty across all these energy dimensions, that inevitable depletion will hit much harder and faster. By actively managing your energy, you're essentially building a larger reserve, making you more resilient to those inevitable dips.
What are some practical, immediate steps listeners can take to start managing their energy better?
For physical energy, start small. Aim for consistent bedtimes and wake times, even on weekends. Incorporate more whole foods into your meals and add a 15-minute walk to your day. For mental energy, try dedicating 60 to 90 minutes to focused work without interruptions. Turn off notifications during that time. And for emotional energy, schedule something you genuinely enjoy for just 30 minutes this week. Perhaps calling a friend, listening to music, or reading a book.
Those sound very manageable. It's about making small, consistent choices that build up over time.
Yes, and remember that managing energy isn't a one-time fix. It's an ongoing practice. It requires self-awareness to recognize when your energy is boss low and intentionality to replenish it. It's about viewing energy management not as a chore, but as a vital investment in your ability to achieve your goals.
So, to recap, Alex, we've discussed how self discipline requires energy, which comes in three forms: physical, mental, and emotional. Each needs to be managed proactively through good sleep, nutrition, movement, focused work, minimizing distractions, and engaging in joy filled and stress reducing activities. By tending to these energy needs, we build a stronger foundation for our willpower and increase our capacity for sustained self discipline.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup, and that's true for self-discipline too. Prioritizing your energy is prioritizing your ability to live a purposeful and achieving life.
Thanks for listening.
Last time we covered managing your energy. Now let's tackle the pillars of that energy: sleep, nutrition, and movement.
Alex, we can have the best strategies, but if we're running on empty, they won't hold. It's like building on a faulty foundation. So, let's start with sleep. Why is it so critical for self-discipline?
Sleep is our body and brain's essential maintenance time. Without it, the part of your brain responsible for decision making and impulse control, the prefrontal cortex, doesn't work well.
So, a bad night's sleep means a weaker willpower muscle?
Precisely. Insufficient sleep impairs our ability to resist temptations and make rational decisions. We become more irritable and impulsive, making it easier to give in to cravings. Sleep is a non-negotiable requirement for self-control.
And what's the recommended amount? Is 7 or 8 hours a hard rule?
7 to 9 hours is generally recommended, but consistency is key. Going to bed and waking up around the same time regulates your body's natural sleep-wake cycle. A relaxing bedtime routine and avoiding screens before bed also significantly improve sleep quality.
Consistency is key for our internal clock. Pillar 1, quality, consistent sleep. Now, nutrition. How does what we eat impact our discipline?
Nutrition is our fuel. Consuming too much refined sugar and processed foods leads to rapid spikes and then crashes in blood sugar.
Ah, the sugar crash. That mental fog feeling.
Exactly. That blood sugar roller coaster affects energy and cognitive function, making focus difficult and cravings harder to resist. Our brain signals for quick energy, often leading to unhealthy choices.
So, a diet of whole foods provides sustained energy and better focus?
Precisely. Whole foods offer a steadier energy release, leading to more stable moods and better concentration. Think of it like a slow-burning fire versus a quick flare-up. Nutrients also support brain health and neurotransmitters involved in mood and motivation.
A great analogy. It's about choosing foods that nourish us for sustained energy. What about hydration?
Absolutely. Even mild dehydration can cause fatigue, headaches, and impaired cognitive function. Staying hydrated ensures all bodily processes, including brain function and willpower, run smoothly.
So, for nutrition, whole foods for sustained energy, managing blood sugar, and staying hydrated. And our third pillar, movement. How does exercise tie into self-discipline?
Movement boosts energy and mental resilience. Exercise releases endorphins, natural mood boosters and stress reducers, helping us feel more alert and equipped to handle challenges. Regular physical activity also improves cognitive function and executive control.
It's counterintuitive. Expending energy actually gives us more energy and willpower.
It's true. Regular exercise improves cardiovascular health, meaning more oxygen to the brain. It also helps regulate neurotransmitters crucial for focus and motivation. Think of it as sharpening your saw. You spend a little time to cut more efficiently later.
That's a fantastic way to put it. What kind of movement? Intense gym sessions?
Not all. Consistency is more important than intensity. Moderate activities like walking, cycling, or dancing provide significant benefits. Find activities you enjoy. Even short bursts of activity, like taking the stairs, can make a difference. Avoid prolonged inactivity.
Finding enjoyable ways to move regularly. Let's recap these three pillars. Sleep, prioritizing consistent, quality rest for repair and reset.
Nutrition, fueling with whole, nutrient-dense foods for stable energy and cognitive function, plus hydration.
And movement, regular activity to boost mood, reduce stress, and enhance willpower capacity. These pillars are interconnected, aren't they? Good sleep aids healthy eating and provides energy for exercise. Balanced nutrition supports sleep and movement. Exercise often leads to better sleep and healthier eating.
You've hit the nail on the head, Lisa. They form a virtuous cycle. When one is strong, it supports the others, amplifying our energy and self-discipline. Neglecting one can undermine our efforts in others. It's a holistic approach. We can't focus on mental strategies if our physical foundation is crumbling.
It's about building that sustainable foundation, trying to maintain focus when sleep deprived, running on junk food, and inactive sounds impossible. That's why these pillars are critical. They are prerequisites for applying other self-discipline techniques.
Exactly. I encourage you all to reflect on these three pillars. Where are you strong, and where can you improve? It's not about overnight perfection, but making intentional, consistent choices to support your energy. Small improvements can have a profound ripple effect on your self-discipline.
It's about building resilience from the ground up. By taking care of our physical selves, we gain the robust energy reserves needed to tackle goals and overcome challenges. This has been incredibly insightful, Alex. These fundamentals are so practical and actionable.
Indeed, as we move forward, these pillars empower the advanced strategies. Next time, we'll delve into the psychology of perfectionism and procrastination and how to navigate those mental hurdles. Next episode, the psychology of perfectionism and procrastination. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. Last time we covered sleep, nutrition, and movement as the pillars of energy.
And it's so crucial to remember that all these strategies we've been discussing require energy. If we're running on empty, even the best plans can fall apart.
Exactly, Lisa. Today we're diving into two very common psychological saboteurs that drain our energy and derail our intentions: perfectionism and procrastination. They often go hand in hand.
Oh, absolutely. It feels like a vicious cycle. You want to do something perfectly, so you delay starting, and that delay leads to more anxiety and feeling overwhelmed.
That's a perfect way to put it. Let's break down perfectionism first. At its core, perfectionism isn't just about striving for excellence. It's often rooted in a fear of failure, a fear of judgment, or an all-or-nothing mindset.
So, it's not just wanting to do a good job, but having an unrealistic standard that makes starting or even continuing feel impossible?
Precisely. A perfectionist might think, if I can't do this perfectly, then I shouldn't do it at all. Compare that to someone with a healthy drive for excellence, who might think, I'll do the best I can and learn from the experience. Can you hear the difference in the emotional weight?
Yes, the perfectionist statement feels so much heavier, so much more daunting. It creates an immediate barrier.
It certainly does. And this is where procrastination often sneaks in. When the bar is set impossibly high, the task itself can feel overwhelming. We avoid the discomfort of not meeting those impossibly high standards by not starting. It's a defense mechanism.
So, procrastination becomes a way to avoid the anticipated pain of imperfection. It's like putting off going to the dentist because you're afraid it will hurt, even though the longer you wait, the worse the problem might become.
That's a great analogy. This is precisely why perfectionism is such a significant obstacle to self-discipline. Remember when we talked about micro habits in episode 14? The idea was to break down large goals into tiny, manageable steps.
Right.
And we emphasized that the goal was about consistency, not necessarily about achieving a perfect outcome on the first try.
Exactly. Micro habits are the antidote to perfectionism's paralysis. If your perfectionist tendency is to write a flawless novel, a micro habit might be to write just one sentence or even just one word each day. The focus is on the action, not the immediate perfection of the output.
And that reduces the perceived risk. If you only have to write one word, the pressure to make that word perfect or the sentence perfect is so much lower. It becomes less about judgment and more about process.
It shifts the focus from the outcome to the action. Another powerful strategy, which we touched upon with pre-commitment in episodes 7 and 8, is to reframe our goals. Instead of aiming for a perfect outcome, aim for good enough or progress.
Good enough feels like such a liberating phrase for anyone who struggles with perfectionism. It gives you permission to be human.
It really does. This also connects to embracing mistakes as learning opportunities. When we view errors not as indictments of our worth, but as valuable feedback, we can move past them. Think of a scientist in a lab. They don't get discouraged by an experiment that doesn't yield the expected result. They analyze why it didn't work and adjust their approach.
That's a really healthy perspective. It's about iteration and improvement, rather than proving flawless ability. So, to combat perfectionism, we're talking about lowering the stakes, focusing on micro steps, and reframing our definition of success.
Absolutely. Now, let's turn our attention to procrastination. While it often stems from perfectionism, it can also be driven by other factors like feeling overwhelmed, lacking clarity, or simply not feeling motivated.
And we've already addressed motivation in episode 2, reminding listeners that it's not the primary engine of self-discipline. Willpower and systems are. But when it comes to procrastination, sometimes the biggest hurdle is just getting started. That initial inertia can feel insurmountable.
Indeed, one of the most effective strategies here is the 2-minute rule. Have you heard of it?
I have. It's the idea that if a task takes less than 2 minutes, you do it immediately. But it's also used to kickstart bigger tasks.
Precisely. For larger tasks, you take the first step and make it take less than 2 minutes. So, if you need to write a report, the 2-minute task isn't writing the report, but simply opening the document and typing the title. Or if you need to exercise, it's just putting on your workout clothes.
That's brilliant. It bypasses the mental hurdle of starting the entire daunting task. You're just committing to this tiny, almost effortless first step.
It's about lowering the barrier to entry so significantly that it's easier to start than to not start. It creates momentum. We also talked about environmental design in episode 5. How can we leverage that here?
Well, if you know you're prone to procrastinating on certain tasks, you can design your environment to make those tasks more accessible and distractions less accessible. For example, if you're tempted to scroll through social media, you could put your phone in another room while you work.
Excellent. And this ties back to the power of cues from episode 6. What cues in your environment are triggering procrastination? Are they social media notifications, email alerts, or perhaps just the comfortable couch that invites you to relax instead of work?
Once you identify those procrastination cues, you can either remove them or create cues that prompt you to start the desired task. For instance, leaving your running shoes by the door is a cue to go for a run.
And let's not forget about breaking down tasks, which we covered extensively in episode 14 with microhabits. When a task feels overwhelming, it's a prime candidate for procrastination. Making it smaller, more specific, and more manageable is crucial.
So, for procrastination, we're looking at strategies like the 2-minute rule to build momentum, environmental design to reduce distractions, cue management, and the ever-important breakdown of intimidating tasks into micro steps.
You've got it. Now, how do these two often linked adversaries interact with a concept like Keystone habits from episode 15?
I see the connection. If you successfully implement a keystone habit, something like a morning routine that includes planning your day, that habit itself can help combat both perfectionism and procrastination.
How so?
Well, by planning your day in the morning, you're setting intentions. You're deciding what you'll work on and, perhaps, at what level of quality. This proactive approach can prevent the anxiety that fuels procrastination. And if you decided to tackle a task for, say, 30 minutes, that's a pre-commitment to progress rather than perfection. It frames the effort as a manageable chunk of time, not an all-or-nothing endeavor.
That's a fantastic synthesis, Lisa. A well-designed keystone habit can act as a preventative measure against these psychological pitfalls. It builds structure, reduces ambiguity, and sets realistic expectations.
It makes sense. It's like building a strong foundation for your day, which then makes it easier to navigate everything else with more focus and less anxiety.
Indeed. So, to recap what we've discussed today, perfectionism is often rooted in fear and unrealistic standards, leading to avoidance and paralysis. Procrastination is the action of delaying, often as a consequence of perfectionism or feeling overwhelmed. To combat perfectionism, we focus on micro steps, embracing good enough, and viewing mistakes as learning. For procrastination, we use the 2-minute rule, environmental design, cue management, and task breakdown. And critically, these strategies are amplified when integrated with foundational habits like those we discussed in earlier episodes.
It really highlights how interconnected all these self-discipline strategies are. You chip away at perfectionism by focusing on progress, which then reduces the tendency to procrastinate. And a strong keystone habit can support both.
Precisely. These are not isolated tactics, but parts of a larger, interconnected system for building lasting willpower and achieving your goals. We're getting closer to building our own personal self-discipline system.
I'm so excited to see how we bring it all together.
Me too. Next time, we'll explore how to cultivate a growth mindset, which is absolutely essential for shifting our perspective and making these strategies truly stick.
That sounds like a perfect transition.
Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time, we explored perfectionism and procrastination. Now, we're cultivating a growth mindset for discipline.
It's true, Alex. You can have all the tools, but if you don't believe you can use them, you won't. Many of us believe our abilities are fixed. You're either good at something or you're not.
That's a fixed mindset where you think your basic qualities are unchangeable. This limits your potential. If you believe you aren't disciplined, you're less likely to try or persevere.
So the alternative is a growth mindset?
Exactly. A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Brains and talent are just the start. This view fosters a love of learning and resilience, essential for accomplishment. It's about believing you can become more capable through effort.
That reframes challenges as opportunities to learn, not tests of inherent ability. How can someone shift from a fixed to a growth mindset, especially for discipline?
First, recognize fixed mindset thinking. When you face a difficult task, does your inner voice say, "I'm not good at this"? That's fixed. A growth mindset asks, "This is challenging, but what can I learn?" It's about reframing those negative thoughts.
So, it's about catching yourself in self-limiting thoughts.
Absolutely. Then, choose a growth-oriented response. Embrace effort. In a fixed mindset, effort signals a lack of talent. In a growth mindset, effort is the path to mastery. Embrace difficult tasks to build strength.
That makes sense for willpower, which we've described as a muscle. If you believe your willpower is fixed and you fail, you might give up. But with a growth mindset, failure is a learning opportunity.
Precisely. Embracing setbacks is crucial. With a fixed mindset, a setback confirms inadequacy. I knew I couldn't do it. With a growth mindset, setbacks are valuable feedback. What went wrong? What can I adjust? What did I learn? This allows you to bounce back.
It's learning from mistakes, not being defined by them. We've discussed strategies like pre-commitment and accountability. With a fixed mindset, if these don't yield perfect results immediately, you might abandon them, thinking, these don't work for me.
That's a perfect connection. Approaching these discipline techniques with a growth mindset means understanding that mastery takes time. You might try temptation bundling, and if the first attempt isn't appealing, a growth mindset prompts you to ask, how can I make this more appealing? What treat would pair better? This iterative process leads to real change.
A growth mindset fosters a love of learning and resilience, perfect companions to our strategies. How can we actively cultivate it?
Focus on the process, not just the outcome. Celebrate the effort, persistence, and learning, not just the victory.
That shifts focus from an intimidating end result to the steps you're taking now.
Exactly. Also, seek out feedback. In a growth mindset, feedback is invaluable information for improvement. Ask for it and listen openly.
That ties into accountability partners who can provide crucial feedback.
Indeed, it's also about seeing effort and struggle as normal parts of learning. A growth mindset embraces challenges, understanding that progress isn't always linear.
To recap, a fixed mindset believes abilities are innate. It leads to avoiding challenges and fearing failure. A growth mindset understands abilities can be developed. It embraces challenges, persists through setbacks, learns from criticism, and finds inspiration from others' efforts.
That's a great summary. Cultivating a growth mindset unlocks a powerful internal driver. We're less afraid of trying, more resilient, and more open to learning. This is the engine that powers our discipline techniques. Imagine challenges as opportunities to expand your ability.
It sounds empowering. It's about embracing the journey of becoming better, which is crucial for building lasting self-discipline. It helps us say, this is tough, but I can learn and get stronger.
Precisely. Pay attention to your inner dialogue. When you face difficulty or a setback, notice your thoughts. Are they telling you you're not good enough or encouraging you to learn and try again? Choose the growth-oriented perspective. View effort as a path to mastery and see challenges and setbacks as feedback, not failures. This strengthens self-discipline from the inside out.
So, it's about shifting our beliefs about our capacity to grow, impacting how we approach every strategy we've learned.
Exactly. This mindset shift is the bedrock. Without it, even the best strategies falter. With a growth mindset, you're evolving and becoming more capable and resilient.
It feels like a crucial piece of the puzzle. It's not just what we do, but how we frame our ability to do it and our belief that we can do it and get better.
Absolutely. And on that empowering note, we'll wrap up this episode. Next time, we'll start to bring everything together as we discuss dealing with setbacks and relapses, the inevitable bumps on the road to self-discipline. Next episode, dealing with setbacks and relapses, the inevitable bumps. Welcome back to the Self-Discipline Code. Last time, we explored how a growth mindset turns challenges into opportunities for building discipline.
That was a fantastic discussion, Alex. Reframing failure as feedback makes self-improvement feel much less daunting.
Absolutely, Lisa. And that leads us perfectly into today's topic. Self-discipline isn't about never failing. It's about how we handle those inevitable slip-ups. Today, we're talking about dealing with setbacks and relapses. Bumps in the road are part of the journey.
It's true. Many of us see a setback as a total derailment. Miss one workout, break your diet for a day, and you feel like you've failed completely and might as well give up.
Exactly. And that's a common but unhelpful way to think. If we view a setback as a catastrophe, it can lead to giving up. But if we see it as a temporary interruption, a learning opportunity, we can get back on track effectively. Remember learning to ride a bike? Did you pedal perfectly the first time?
Definitely not. I remember a few scraped knees.
Right? Those scraped knees taught you something. What not to do, how to balance better. There were setbacks, but also crucial learning experiences. Self-discipline works similarly. When we encounter a setback, it's an invitation to learn, adapt, and grow stronger.
So, the first step is in our mindset, that growth mindset. Instead of, I'm a failure, we shift to, okay, that didn't go as planned. What can I learn?
Precisely. The first strategy is to embrace acceptance without judgment. Acknowledge it happened, understand it's normal, and resist beating yourself up. Self-criticism rarely motivates lasting change. It often leads to shame, which can lead to avoidance or self-sabotage.
That makes sense. If I feel ashamed, I'm more likely to hide than solve. So, acceptance, and no judgment. What's next?
The next crucial step is to analyze what happened. This isn't about blame, but understanding contributing factors. Ask yourself, what triggered this relapse? Was it stress? Lack of sleep? A specific environmental cue? A lapse in my pre-commitment strategy? Was I trying to do too much too soon?
This is where all those earlier strategies are so important, isn't it? When in a setback, we can look back at our environment design, our cues, our pre-commitments, our habits.
Exactly. The more tools we have, the better equipped we are to identify the specific cause of the relapse. For instance, if you plan to go to the gym after work but found yourself on the couch, the analysis might reveal your environment wasn't set up for success. Your gym clothes weren't laid out, or you were too tired from a long commute.
So, instead of I'm lazy, I could say, my commute was too long today and I didn't have my workout clothes ready, making it harder to follow through.
You've got it. And that analysis leads directly to the third strategy, adaptation. Based on your analysis, what changes can you make to prevent this from happening again? This might involve adjusting your environment, changing your pre-commitment strategy, breaking your goal down even further, or perhaps focusing on a different keystone habit for a while.
This is where micro habits and keystone habits become so powerful. If a big goal feels overwhelming and leads to a setback, I can revisit my micro habits to make it more manageable.
Precisely. Remember how keystone habits have a ripple effect? Sometimes a setback can indicate the keystone habit needs a slight adjustment, or you need to shore up a foundational habit, like sleep or stress management. The key is to adapt, not abandon.
So we accept, we analyze, and then we adapt. These seem like practical steps. But what if the setback feels significant? What if it's a true relapse where you've gone back to old habits for a while?
That's a critical question, Lisa, and it brings us to rebuilding momentum. When a relapse is significant, the key is to start small. Don't try to jump back into your entire previous routine. Instead, focus on reestablishing one very small, achievable habit that aligns with your goals.
Like what, for example?
If your goal was to exercise daily and you've fallen off completely, don't aim for an hour-long gym session tomorrow. Aim to do 5 minutes of stretching or walk around the block. The goal here isn't fitness, it's momentum. It's proving to yourself that you can take action.
So it's about reactivating that doing muscle.
Exactly. It's about creating small wins that build confidence and show your brain that progress is still possible. Once you've completed a few small actions, gradually increase the duration or intensity. Think of it as carefully rebuilding your willpower muscle rather than expecting it to be fully recovered overnight.
That's a helpful frame. It takes the pressure off a perfect reentry. And it sounds like practicing self-compassion is ongoing.
Self-compassion is vital. When you stumble, treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a struggling friend. Remind yourself of your successes, your progress, and your inherent worth, which isn't defined by falling short.
And leaning on our accountability partners, as we discussed, is also incredibly important during these times.
Oh, without a doubt, sharing your struggle with a trusted friend, mentor, or coach provides invaluable support. They can offer perspective, remind you of your strengths, and help you stay committed when your own resolve wavers. They're the external anchor that steadies you.
So, to recap, setbacks and relapses are normal. The key is not to avoid them, but to navigate them effectively. First, we practice acceptance without judgment. Then, we analyze the contributing factors. Following that, we adapt our strategies. If a relapse is significant, we focus on rebuilding momentum by starting with very small, achievable actions. And throughout it all, we lean on self-compassion and our accountability partners.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. And remember, every time you navigate a setback successfully, you are not just getting back on track. You are strengthening your self-discipline. You are proving you are resilient, can learn, and are capable of growth. These challenging moments are where genuine mastery is forged. They build the lasting willpower we've explored in the self-discipline code.
It's reassuring to know these challenges aren't roadblocks, but opportunities to become even more adept at building lasting willpower.
Indeed. And as we move towards the end of our series, the strategies we've discussed, including how to handle these inevitable bumps, will help you build a robust, personalized self-discipline system. Next episode, integrating strategies, creating your personal self-discipline system. Welcome back. Last time, we talked about dealing with those inevitable setbacks.
And today, Alex, we're going to bring it all together. We've learned so many incredible strategies for building self-discipline throughout this series. We've explored designing our environment, mastering pre-commitment, the magic of temptation bundling, the power of accountability, and identifying those crucial keystone habits.
That's right, Lisa. But having a toolbox of strategies is one thing. Knowing how to use them in harmony is another. This episode is all about integration, creating your own personalized, sustainable system for enduring achievement.
So, it's not one size fits all, but rather a custom-built plan for each of us?
Exactly. Think of it like building a complex structure. You wouldn't just pile bricks and would randomly. You need a blueprint, a way to connect the different materials, and a plan for how each piece supports the others. Our self-discipline system is the same. We need to connect the dots between environmental design, pre-commitment, habits, and accountability.
Let's start with environmental design. We know that structuring our surroundings can make desired behaviors easier and undesired ones harder. How does that tie into other strategies?
Great question. Environmental design is the foundation. If you want to commit to waking up early, your environment should support that. That means a tidy room, lights out at a set time, and your workout clothes laid out. This environmental setup directly supports your pre-commitment to that early workout. You've made the decision beforehand and removed obstacles.
So by setting up your environment, you're making your pre-commitment easier to follow through on. And if that early workout is something you dread, temptation bundling can make it more appealing.
Precisely. You might pre-commit to waking up early and then bundle your dreaded workout with something you love, like listening to your favorite podcast only while you exercise. Your environment encourages the action, your pre-commitment locks it in, and temptation bundling makes it enjoyable.
It sounds like these strategies build on each other. You make a decision, set up your surroundings to support it, and then use rewards to make it stick.
You've got it. Now let's weave in accountability. If you've pre-committed to that early workout and designed your environment, telling a friend or a coach about your goal adds another layer of security. It creates an external commitment that makes you less likely to bail, even if your willpower wavers momentarily.
And this accountability can also be tied to your habits, right? Like if you're trying to build a keystone habit, say, drinking more water. You might design your desk with a water bottle, pre-commit to refilling it every hour, and use a simple check-in with a buddy to log your daily intake.
Absolutely. And what about those core habits we discussed? Keystone habits are particularly powerful for integration because they have a ripple effect. If you establish a keystone habit like regular exercise, it often naturally leads to better sleep, healthier eating, and improved mood. These improvements, in turn, boost your willpower and make all your other pre-commitments and environmental designs more effective.
So, rather than trying to implement 10 new habits at once, we should focus on identifying one or two keystones that will have the most positive ripple effect across our other goals.
Exactly. It's about strategic intervention. Instead of trying to control every single aspect of your life, identify the leverage points. For example, if you struggle with sticking to work deadlines, your system might look like this. First, environmental design. Minimize distractions by turning off notifications and closing unnecessary tabs. Second, pre-commitment. Before starting a task, decide precisely when you will finish it and on what. For instance, I will finish this report by 2 p.m. today. Third, temptation bundling. Pair the task with a small reward, like a 15-minute break to read a chapter of a book once you hit a milestone in the report. Fourth, accountability. Set a reminder to update your progress with a colleague or accountability partner at a specific time. Finally, Keystone habit connection. Recognize that better sleep, a keystone habit, would likely improve your focus and ability to meet that deadline. So, prioritizing sleep becomes integral to your work discipline.
That's a fantastic breakdown. It shows how each strategy isn't an isolated tactic, but a component of a larger, interconnected system. It's about building a robust framework for self-discipline.
And the beauty of this system is its adaptability. As you master one strategy, you can refine others and introduce new ones. It's not a static blueprint, but a living, breathing framework that evolves with you. What works for you today might need adjustment in 6 months, and that's perfectly fine. The underlying principle of integrating these tools remains.
So, when we're building this personal system, should we be thinking about our specific goals or our general well-being?
Ideally, both. Your system should serve your overarching goals, whether that's career advancement, personal health, or creative pursuits, but also needs to support your general well-being. A system that burns you out isn't sustainable. This is where managing your energy, as we discussed earlier, becomes critical. A well-rested, well-nourished mind is far more capable of adhering to its own self-designed structure.
That's a great reminder. It's not just about brute force willpower. It's about intelligent design and making sure our system supports rather than drains us. So, in essence, we're looking at building a personalized ecosystem for achievement.
That's a perfect analogy, Lisa. An ecosystem where each element, your environment, your commitments, your habits, your support network, plays a vital role in your overall success, and they all work together to create a thriving outcome.
Let's recap the core components we've discussed for building this integrated system. 1. Environmental design. Shape your surroundings to make good choices easy and bad choices difficult. 2. Pre-commitment. Make decisions in advance when your willpower is high to bind yourself to future actions. 3. Temptation bundling. Pair less desirable tasks with immediate rewards to make them more appealing. 4. Accountability. Create external commitments through others or systems to increase follow-through. And 5. Keystone habits. Focus on habits that trigger a cascade of other positive changes.
And remember, these aren't separate silos. You design your environment to support your pre-commitments. You use temptation bundling to make sticking to your keystone habits easier. You use accountability to ensure you follow through on all of them. It's about identifying how each strategy can reinforce the others.
It really emphasizes the proactive nature of self-discipline. It's not about reacting to temptations or struggles, but about designing a system that anticipates them and makes success the default.
Exactly. It's about moving from a place of reactive willpower to proactive system design. And as you build this system, allow for flexibility. You'll encounter challenges, and you might need to tweak your approach. The key is to view these adjustments not as failures, but as refinements to your personal self-discipline architecture.
This is such a powerful concept, Alex. It takes the often overwhelming idea of self-discipline and breaks it down into actionable, interconnected strategies that we can all build upon.
And this leads us beautifully into our final episodes, where we'll discuss how to sustain this system for the long game and ultimately live a life of purposeful achievement.
It's been an incredible journey so far. Ready for the next step?
Always. Next episode, The Long Game, Sustaining Self-Discipline for Lifelong Achievement. Welcome back. Last time we covered integrating strategies for your personal self-discipline system. Now, Let's tackle sustaining self-discipline for lifelong achievement.
That's right, Alex. We've armed our listeners with a whole toolkit of strategies. But the real challenge, as we know, isn't just starting, it's continuing. It's making these disciplines a natural, sustainable part of life. So, how do we keep the flame alive, especially when life throws us curveballs?
It really boils down to a few key principles that we've touched on, but now we'll emphasize for the long haul. The first is shifting our perspective. We need to see self-discipline not as a chore or a temporary fix, but as a fundamental practice for living a purposeful life. Think of it like tending a garden. You don't plant seeds once and expect a harvest forever. It requires consistent care, weeding, watering, and adapting to the seasons.
That's a great analogy, Alex. The garden analogy really highlights the ongoing nature of self-discipline. So, it's not about achieving a perfect, static state, but about continuous engagement. Does that mean we should expect to feel motivated all the time? Because I think that's a common misconception.
Absolutely not. And that brings us to our second principle, embracing inconsistency. We talked about willpower as a muscle that can be depleted. Likewise, motivation ebbs and flows. The goal isn't to have unwavering motivation. It's to have systems in place that allow you to act even when motivation is low. This is where building strong habits and leveraging your environment, which we covered earlier, becomes crucial.
So, if motivation is our unreliable friend, habits are our dependable partner. Remember when we talked about pre-commitment and temptation bundling? Those strategies are designed precisely for those moments when motivation wanes. By pre-committing to a course of action or making a difficult task more appealing, we bypass the need for constant motivation.
Exactly, Lisa. And speaking of those core strategies, let's revisit them through the lens of long-term sustainability. To maintain self-discipline over time, we need to continuously reinforce our commitment. This means revisiting our why. Why do we start this journey towards better self-discipline in the first place? Keeping that purpose front and center is vital.
The why acts as our anchor. When things get tough, reminding ourselves of our underlying values and long-term goals can reignite our drive. We discussed goal setting, and I think it's worth emphasizing that long-term goals aren't static. They evolve, and our strategies need to evolve with them.
Precisely. And this leads us to the third principle for the long game, adaptability and learning. Life is dynamic. Our circumstances change, our goals might shift, and unexpected challenges will arise. The ability to adapt our self-discipline strategies is key. This is where the growth mindset plays a massive role. Instead of seeing a setback as a failure, a growth mindset allows us to view it as a learning opportunity.
That makes so much sense. Dealing with setbacks isn't a sign that our self-discipline is broken, but rather an inevitable part of the process. Learning to navigate those moments without derailing our progress completely is essential for long-term success. It's like a climber falling, but knowing how to use the rope to get back on track.
A perfect example. And this constant learning cycle is fueled by self-awareness. We need to regularly check in with ourselves. Are our current strategies still working? Are they aligning with our evolving goals? This ongoing self-assessment prevents us from getting stuck in routines that are no longer serving us. Think of it as performance reviews for your own life. Regularly asking, what's working? What's not? How can I improve?
Which also taps into managing our energy. Sustaining self-discipline isn't just about mental fortitude, it's also about ensuring we have the physical and emotional reserves to keep going. Prioritizing sleep, nutrition, and movement isn't just about short-term productivity, it's about building a sustainable foundation for long-term commitment.
Absolutely. Without that foundational energy, even the best strategies will eventually falter. And let's not forget the power of our social environment. We talked about building accountability pacts. For the long game, having a supportive network, friends, family, mentors, or even online communities is incredibly valuable. These are the people who can offer encouragement, hold us accountable, and remind us of our why when we start adrift.
So, To recap for our listeners, sustaining self-discipline for a lifetime involves viewing it as a continuous practice, understanding that motivation will fluctuate and relying on habits and systems, and embracing adaptability and learning from setbacks. It also means maintaining self-awareness about what's working and what's not, prioritizing our energy levels, and leveraging a supportive social circle.
Precisely. It's about creating a personalized self-discipline system that is flexible and resilient. This system isn't about rigid rules that will eventually be broken. It's about creating a framework for consistent progress. It's about building a life where purposeful action becomes the norm, not the exception.
And that purposeful action, when consistently applied over time, leads to significant, lifelong achievement. It's the compounding effect of small, consistent efforts. That's the true power of the self-discipline code. It's not just about achieving one goal, it's about building the capacity to achieve many goals and live a life aligned with our deepest values.
Think about the people you admire who seem to effortlessly achieve great things. It's rarely about innate talent alone. It's about the disciplined habits they've cultivated and maintained over years, even decades. They've mastered the long game.
So, for our listeners, don't get discouraged by the occasional slip-up. See it as a data point to learn from. Reevaluate your strategies. Reconnect with your why. Nurture your habits. And keep moving forward, one purposeful action at a time. The journey of self-discipline is a marathon, not a sprint, and the rewards are immeasurable.
Indeed, you've now been equipped with the core principles and practical strategies to build lasting self-discipline. Remember, it's a practice, a journey of continuous growth and refinement. Your ability to sustain your efforts over the long term will be the ultimate key to unlocking your potential and living a life of purposeful achievement.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the self-discipline code with you all. We've delved into the science of willpower, the art of habit formation, the importance of our environment, and the power of accountability and mindset. This episode is all about integrating those lessons, not just for a short burst of success, but for the entire arc of your life.
The skills we've discussed are not a destination, but a way of living. By consistently applying these principles, you are not just achieving individual goals. You're shaping your character and building a foundation for sustained success and fulfillment. You've learned how to manage your energy, how to design your environment, how to pre-commit, build accountability, and cultivate a resilient mindset. All of these pieces work together to create a robust system for lifelong achievement.
So, as we conclude this episode, and as we approach the end of our series, remember that the long game is won not by perfection, but by persistence. It's about showing up day after day, even when it's hard, and trusting the process. The insights and techniques we've shared are designed to empower you to do just that, to build a life where your actions align with your aspirations, consistently and sustainably.
Next episode, the self-discipline code, living a life of purposeful achievement. Hello and welcome back. We've explored the science and strategies for building lasting willpower. Today, we're putting it all together to live a life of purposeful achievement.
It's hard to believe we're at the end of our journey, Alex. We've covered so much ground, from understanding motivation to mastering willpower.
Absolutely, Lisa. Our goal was to guide you from just understanding self-discipline to truly integrating it. As we wrap up, let's revisit the core concepts that weave together to create that purposeful life.
Think of this like building a magnificent structure. We've laid the foundation and built the walls, and now we're adding the finishing touches.
A perfect analogy. Remember, we debunked the idea that self-discipline is about endless motivation. True discipline is more robust. We learned that willpower is like a muscle, trainable, but also prone to fatigue.
Yes, The idea that willpower isn't infinite showed us we need smart strategies, not just more effort.
Exactly. Working smarter often means designing our surroundings to support our goals. We explore environmental design, making good choices easy and bad choices hard. This ties into understanding cues, those unconscious triggers guiding us toward or away from objectives.
That makes sense. If I know I'll snack when stressed and junk food is visible, I'm setting myself up for failure. Making healthy snacks accessible and junk food out of sight wins half the battle.
Precisely. To fortify good choices, we delved into pre-commitment. This means making a decision in advance about how you'll behave when temptation arises. It's pre-booking your success.
Pre-commitment strategies remove the need for willpower in the moment. Deciding beforehand what to eat at a party, or setting out workout clothes the night before, locks in your intentions.
And then we explored temptation bundling. We learned how making an unpleasant task more enjoyable can be effective by pairing something you need to do with something you want to do. Listening to a favorite podcast only while exercising, for example, creates a positive association.
Temptation bundling is fantastic reframing. It takes a task that might feel like a willpower drain and turns it into a reward loop, making the desired action more attractive.
Crucial to these strategies is accountability. We learn we're not meant to go it alone. Building an accountability pact adds external commitment, making us more likely to follow through.
The accountability advantage is real. Knowing someone else is aware of your goals or that you have to report progress can be a huge motivator. It's that gentle nudge when our internal willpower might be flagging.
Speaking of goals, we spent time on setting them effectively, but we also learned that big goals can be overwhelming. That's where breaking them down into micro habits comes in.
Micro habits are heroes of long-term change. They're so small and manageable they feel easy, which is exactly why they work. They build momentum without draining willpower.
And among those micro habits, we identified keystone habits. Remember those? These trigger a cascade of other positive changes, like exercising, which often leads to better eating, improved sleep, and more focus.
Keystone habits are like a domino effect for good. You push one, and a chain reaction of positive behaviors begins. It's about finding that linchpin habit that transforms multiple areas of your life.
Of course, all these strategies require energy. That's why managing your energy through sufficient sleep, balanced nutrition, and regular movement is fundamental. Self-discipline isn't just mental, it's physical too.
It's a holistic approach. You can have the best strategies, but if you're running on empty, they're hard to implement. Sleep, nutrition, and movement are the bedrock of our capacity to act.
And we can't forget the psychological aspects. We discussed the traps of perfectionism and procrastination, how they often stem from fear and can sabotage progress. Overcoming these requires a shift in perspective.
That mindset shift is so important. Cultivating a growth mindset, where we see challenges as opportunities to learn, is key to long-term resilience.
And resilience brings us to the inevitable setbacks and relapses. Life happens. We will stumble. But the self-discipline code isn't about never falling. It's about how you get back up. We learn that setbacks are not failures, but learning experiences.
These aren't obstacles, they're data points. They tell us what might need adjusting. By treating them as such, we can emerge stronger.
So, the big takeaway is that self-discipline is about building a personalized system, an integrated approach using environmental design, pre-commitment, temptation bundling, accountability, smart goal setting, micro and keystone habits, energy management, and a growth mindset.
It's about creating a life where you intentionally direct your energy and actions toward what truly matters. It's moving from reacting to life to proactively shaping it.
And the ultimate reward? Living a life of purposeful achievement. A life where you feel in control, consistently moving toward your aspirations, and aligning daily actions with your deepest values. This builds a life rich with meaning and fulfillment.
It's about waking up each day knowing you have the tools and inner strength to make it count. It's about living intentionally, not just habitually.
This has been an incredibly rewarding journey, delving into self-discipline with all of you. The principles we've discussed are the building blocks for a more empowered and purposeful existence. Remember that consistent effort, even in small doses, compounds over time to create remarkable results.
So, as we conclude the self-discipline code, my wish for everyone is that you've found practical strategies to build lasting willpower. May you continue to apply these concepts, adapt them to your unique life, and achieve the goals that will bring you the most satisfaction. Thank you for joining us on this exploration.
Thanks for listening to the series.